Beneath the shifting sands and dense jungles of our planet lie echoes of civilizations that defy explanation. Towering stones cut with surgical precision. Structures aligned with celestial patterns thousands of years before telescopes. Temples carved into mountainsides where no tools of such mastery should have existed. From the deserts of Egypt to the mist-covered valleys of Peru and the ancient hills of Palestine, these monuments whisper of knowledge lost to time. Who built them? And more importantly, how? Were these structures merely the result of forgotten human genius, or do they point to something far stranger, an intelligence beyond our understanding? Every block, every symbol, every unexplained alignment draws us deeper into a past that refuses to be fully uncovered. The evidence stands before us, yet the answers remain just out of reach, buried beneath centuries of silence. So sit back, relax, and open your mind as we journey into the greatest architectural mysteries of the ancient world, structures that science still struggles to explain. High on the rugged plains of central Anatolia, where the wind sweeps through ancient hills and the earth still carries the scent of age-old dust, stands a gate guarded by two silent lions. Their stone faces, majestic, weathered, and unyielding, have watched the passing of nearly 4,000 years. This is the Lion Gate of Hattusa, the ancient capital of the Hittite Empire. Once a city of kings and scribes, warriors and gods, Hattusa now lies in quiet ruin. Yet its gate endures, as if protecting secrets that time itself could not erase. The lions are carved directly into the massive stone blocks that form the outer wall of the city. Their eyes, hollowed but intense, seem to gaze into eternity. Their manes are rendered with careful detail, and their mouths, slightly open, hint at a growl that once echoed across the city's great stone ramparts. For the Hittites, lions were more than symbols of strength. They were guardians, intermediaries between the world of mortals and the divine. To pass beneath their watchful eyes was to enter sacred space, one protected by both earthly and cosmic power. The Hittites themselves were a formidable people. From roughly 1600 to 1200 BC, they ruled an empire stretching across much of Anatolia and into parts of what is now Syria and Palestine. They were known for their legal codes, their diplomacy, and their mastery of iron, long before most other civilizations had learned to shape it. Yet for all their accomplishments, much about them remains a mystery. Their language, their rituals, and even the origins of their art continue to puzzle scholars. And nowhere is this mystery more concentrated than in the Lion Gate itself. When archaeologists began excavating Hattusa in the early 20th century, they were astonished by the precision and scale of its fortifications. The stones that make up the walls, some weighing several tons, fit together with remarkable accuracy without the use of mortar. The Lion Gate, in particular, seems to embody a level of craftsmanship that exceeds what was thought possible for its time. The question arises, how did a Bronze Age civilization achieve such structural perfection? Mainstream archaeologists attribute it to ingenuity and relentless labor, a testament to the organizational power of the Hittite state. But others suggest there may be more to the story. The orientation of the gate, for example, is curious. Some researchers have noted its alignment with specific celestial bodies, suggesting that it might have served not only as a military fortification, but also as a ceremonial or astronomical marker. Could the Lion Gate have been built to honor the gods of the sky, to mark solstices or stellar risings that dictated the rhythms of Hittite ritual? Then there are the theories that stretch beyond traditional archaeology. Some fringe historians point to the similarities between Hittite architecture and megalithic sites found across the ancient world, from the stone walls of Peru to the fortresses of the Levant. Could there have been an ancient exchange of knowledge long before known trade routes existed? Others even propose that the Lion Gate's remarkable precision suggests the use of advanced tools or lost technologies, techniques that vanished when the Hittite Empire mysteriously collapsed around 1200 BC. Of course, such claims are speculative at best. Yet, it is the gaps in our knowledge that make the Lion Gate so captivating. Beneath its stones, traces of older foundations have been discovered, structures that predate the Hittite occupation. Were the lions carved by Hittite hands alone, or did they inherit an even older monument, reshaping it in their own image? Standing before the gate today, one can almost feel its silent gravity. The stones radiate warmth under the Anatolian sun, and the wind that passes through the ruins carries a faint echo, as though voices from long ago still linger in the air. Tourists photograph the lions, unaware that beneath their feet lies a buried archive of tablets, thousands of cuneiform records that once chronicled the lives and prayers of this vanished empire. Many of these texts have been translated, yet some remain indecipherable, sealed within clay since the city's fall. Was the Lion Gate merely a grand entrance to a once mighty city, or something more? Was it built to keep enemies out, or to protect the world from what lay within? Even today, no one can say with certainty. The lions continue their eternal vigil, their stony eyes fixed on horizons that have witnessed empires rise and fall. Scholars debate and speculate, and generations come to marvel at their presence. Time erodes everything, yet they remain, unchanged, unbroken, and unreadable. Perhaps that is their greatest power, not in what they reveal, but in what they conceal. And as the last rays of sunlight fade across the ruins of Hattusa, the Lion Gate stands in quiet defiance of time, its mystery still intact, its purpose still uncertain, waiting for the day when someone might finally understand what those ancient guardians were truly watching over. As the sun sets beyond the dusty horizon of southeastern Iran, the desert glows with a copper hue. Amid the silence, fragments of an ancient world lie scattered beneath the shifting sands, broken pottery, walls half buried, and bones turned pale by time. This is Shahr-e Sukhteh, the burnt city, a name born from ashes and a place where history and enigma meet. Here, in the middle of what seems like desolation, archaeologists uncovered the remains of a civilization that flourished more than 4,000 years ago, around 3,200 BC. Long before the rise of Persia, before Babylon or the pyramids of Giza reached their prime, the people of Shahr-e Sukhteh built a sprawling urban center of surprising sophistication. Streets, drainage systems, and residential districts reveal an organized society, one that valued craftsmanship, trade, and intellect. But like so many ancient cities, it ended not with a whisper, but with fire. The ruins stretch across more than 150 hectares, hinting at a thriving population once numbering in the thousands. Excavations have revealed intricate jewelry, elegant pottery painted with geometric precision, and a remarkable artifact that continues to fascinate historians. A small clay disc believed to be the world's oldest example of animation. On its surface, a sequence of painted figures depicts a goat leaping to eat leaves from a tree, an image that, when spun, comes to life. Such creativity suggests not only artistic talent, but an understanding of motion, rhythm, and storytelling far ahead of its time. Then there are the discoveries that move beyond art, into realms that touch upon science and mystery. Among the burials, archaeologists found the remains of a young woman with an artificial eye, crafted from a light material, possibly bitumen, and engraved with delicate golden threads radiating from the pupil. It appears almost modern in design. It was so finely made that when placed in the socket, it left clear imprints on the surrounding bone, suggesting she had worn it in life, not as decoration, but as part of her identity. Was this an early attempt at medical innovation? Or does it reveal a deeper understanding of anatomy and aesthetics than previously believed possible? Equally puzzling are the city's graves and artifacts, suggesting advanced knowledge of medicine and surgery. Evidence of early brain surgery, specifically trepanation, has been found here, where a circular section of skull was carefully removed, possibly to treat injury or illness. The patient, remarkably, appears to have survived the procedure. How could such a complex medical technique have existed in an era when much of the world still relied on superstition and ritual healing? Mainstream archaeology explains Shahr-e Sukhteh as a product of human ingenuity, an early urban center that benefited from trade routes linking the Indus Valley, Mesopotamia, and Central Asia. Its wealth and knowledge, they say, came from this crossroads of cultures, a meeting point where ideas flowed freely across the ancient world. Yet certain details refuse to fit neatly within this narrative. The city's construction shows no defensive walls, despite being located in a region where warfare was common. Its planned layout, advanced for its time, implies a central authority or shared vision, one not yet identified in surviving texts. And perhaps most intriguing of all, no palace or temple has been found, no sign of a ruling elite or a dominant priesthood. Who then guided this civilization? Some suggest that Shahr-e Sukhteh might have been a collective society, a rare example of early urban egalitarianism. Others wonder whether its destruction by fire, which seems to have occurred multiple times, was accidental or part of a pattern. Was the city cursed by natural forces? Did environmental collapse drive its people away? Or was there something more, something that ancient records chose not to preserve? Fringe researchers propose even more speculative ideas. They point to unusual alignments in the city's layout, suggesting it may have been designed according to celestial principles, mirroring star patterns visible in the night sky. A few go further, proposing that Shahr-e Sukhteh might have been a remnant of an even older, forgotten culture, one that passed down fragments of lost knowledge through architecture, medicine, and art. Whatever the truth, the silence of the burnt city endures. The desert wind passes over the ruins, whispering through the broken walls and hollow courtyards. Beneath the ground, thousands of yet unopened graves lie waiting, their contents untouched for millennia. Each artifact unearthed adds a piece to the puzzle, but the full picture remains incomplete, as though the city itself guards its final secret. Standing amid the remains, one cannot help but feel a quiet sense of awe. The people of Shahr-e Sukhteh lived, dreamed, created, and vanished, leaving behind a story half told in clay and ash. What truly happened here? What flame consumed a city so advanced, so alive, and left it to crumble into silence? Perhaps, buried somewhere beneath the scorched earth, the answers still sleep, waiting for the day we are ready to understand what the burnt city was, and why it burned. As the camera drifts over the red earth of Mali, the land suddenly breaks into a vast, towering wall of sandstone. Rising nearly 500 meters above the plains, the Bandiagara escarpment stretches for miles, a labyrinth of cliffs, caves, and ancient dwellings carved into the rock face. At sunset, the cliffs seem to glow from within, as if the stones themselves remember the fires of forgotten ancestors. It is here, in this haunting landscape, that one of Africa's greatest archaeological enigmas endures: the cliff dwellings of the Dogon people. Long before modern travelers reached this remote plateau, generations had come and gone beneath its shadow. The Dogon, who still live in villages along the escarpment, tell stories of those who came before them, the mysterious Telem, a people said to have built the dwellings that cling impossibly to the cliff walls. High above the ground, tucked into sheer rock faces, these ancient homes and burial sites seem unreachable even today. How, then, were they constructed? Archaeologists have studied the Telem remains, dating them to around the 11th to 15th centuries AD. Yet oral traditions suggest the cliffs were already ancient when the Dogon arrived, perhaps thousands of years before. The dwellings themselves, small, windowless chambers of mud and stone, are often accessible only by dangerous climbs or hidden paths. Some are so high that even experienced mountaineers struggle to reach them. Why would a people choose to build their homes in such perilous isolation? Was it for defense, for ritual, or something else entirely? The Dogon say the Telem were powerful, long-limbed people who could fly or move effortlessly along the cliffs. Of course, many interpret this as poetic symbolism, a way of describing their exceptional climbing skill. Still, the image lingers, humans moving across the rock as if weightless, leaving behind a civilization suspended between earth and sky. In the early 20th century, French ethnographers such as Marcel Griol began studying the Dogon culture and their knowledge of astronomy. What they discovered, or claimed to discover, added yet another layer to the mystery. The Dogon, it seemed, possessed remarkably detailed knowledge of the star Sirius and its invisible companion star, Sirius B, an object that cannot be seen without a telescope and was not confirmed by Western science until the 19th century. How could an isolated culture, with no known access to modern instruments, have known of such a star? Mainstream scholars argue that this knowledge might have been introduced by outside contact, perhaps through traders, travelers, or early astronomers who passed through the region. Others, however, question whether such explanations fully account for the depth and accuracy of the Dogon's astronomical understanding. Could it be that this knowledge was inherited, passed down from an earlier civilization whose origins are now lost? The architectural mystery of the Bandiagara escarpment deepens this speculation. The oldest cliff structures do not entirely match Dogon construction methods. Their placement, their design, and even their purpose remain uncertain. Some chambers contain human remains carefully arranged in fetal positions, as if the dead were meant to return to the womb of the earth. Others show signs of ceremonial use, altars, pigment traces, and symbols whose meanings have faded with time. Archaeologists offer logical explanations. The high dwellings provided protection from raiders, floods, and animals. The bones found within were those of honored ancestors, preserved in dry, inaccessible places to ensure peace for the living. But standing before the cliffs, it's difficult not to sense something deeper, a spiritual design woven into the landscape itself. The escarpment feels alive, its caves breathing ancient air, its shadows moving with memory. Fringe theories, though speculative, add further intrigue. Some suggest that the Dogon's advanced star lore hints at forgotten contact with a lost civilization, perhaps one connected to other ancient centers of learning across Africa and beyond. Others draw parallels between the cliff dwellings and mysterious rock-cut structures found on distant continents, wondering whether humanity's earliest builders once shared a global knowledge of stone, sky, and spirit. The Dogon themselves treat the cliffs as sacred, a threshold between the physical and the spiritual worlds. They say that the ancestors still dwell among the rocks, watching over the living. When the wind rushes through the escarpment at night, it is said to carry their whispers, the same wind that once echoed through the homes of the Telem, and perhaps through civilizations even older still. Today, many of the ancient dwellings are crumbling, reclaimed by the elements. Yet the mystery endures. Each year, researchers, explorers, and pilgrims arrive to stand beneath these towering walls, gazing upward at the unreachable homes of a vanished people. They come searching for answers, for history, for meaning, for connection. But the cliffs remain silent. Were the Telem the true builders? Or were they, too, inheritors of something older, a civilization erased from history, but preserved in stone? As twilight deepens across the Bandiagara plateau, the cliffs seem to dissolve into shadow. The line between myth and memory blurs, and one cannot help but wonder what secrets still lie hidden in those silent caves sealed high above the earth, where time itself dares not climb. High in the eastern foothills of the Bolivian Andes, where mist clings to the mountains and the air carries the scent of rain-soaked earth, a colossal stone rises from the landscape, carved, shaped, and scarred by human hands thousands of years ago. This is El Fuerte de Samaipata, or the Fortress of Samaipata, a name that only hints at its true mystery. At first glance, it seems almost otherworldly. A massive sandstone monolith nearly 200 meters long, its surface is etched with geometric channels, stairways, thrones, and animal figures. Some of these carvings form serpentine patterns that twist and flow as though mimicking water or energy. Others depict feline forms, stepped platforms, and altars that suggest a ritual purpose. But there is no fortress here in the conventional sense. No walls, no towers, no battlements. Instead, the mountain itself was transformed into something between a sanctuary and a message, one that no one fully understands. Archaeologists have long debated its origins. The earliest traces of human presence here date back to around 300 BC, but the site seems to have been built and rebuilt over centuries by different cultures, the Chene, the Incas, and perhaps others even older. The Chene, an Arawak-speaking people, are believed to have begun the great carving of the rock, shaping it into a vast ceremonial complex devoted to their gods of earth and sky. Later, the Incas arrived, expanding upon the structure and incorporating it into their empire. Yet even for them, Samaipata held a kind of reverence, a sacred place whose purpose was inherited rather than fully understood. Atop the carved rock lies a maze of terraces and depressions that appear deliberate, their alignments precise. Some scholars believe these were ritual spaces used for offerings or water ceremonies. Others see an astronomical observatory, where priests charted the sun's course and the stars' seasonal movements. The carvings align strikingly with the cardinal directions, and during solstices, shadows play across the rock in patterns that seem too exact to be coincidence. Still, the sheer scale and complexity of the site raise questions. Why invest such immense labor into a mountain of stone? How did ancient craftsmen carve vast trenches and deep wells into solid sandstone using only tools of copper and stone? Some sections bear marks so cleanly cut that they resemble work from far more advanced techniques. The channels, when viewed from above, form flowing lines that seem to radiate from a central point, almost like a map or a code left in stone. The mystery deepens when one looks beyond the carvings. The entire complex is surrounded by the ruins of what may have been temples, plazas, and housing areas. Beneath the main rock, archaeologists have found evidence of subterranean structures, passages and chambers that remain only partially explored. Were they tombs, storage areas, or something more symbolic, perhaps a mirror to the celestial world above? Mainstream historians tend to frame Samaipata within the known context of Andean religion and Inca expansion. It may have served as both a ritual center and a strategic outpost, its name meaning rest in the highlands, suggesting a place of spiritual and physical refuge. Yet, as with so many ancient sites, not all the pieces fit neatly. Some alternative researchers argue that Samaipata predates the Incas by millennia, belonging to a lost civilization with an advanced understanding of geometry and astronomy. A few go further still, pointing to the uncanny precision of its carvings and its orientation toward cosmic events as evidence of forgotten knowledge, perhaps even contact with civilizations beyond our recorded past. While such theories remain unproven, they persist, fed by the site's undeniable aura of mystery. Then there are the legends. Local traditions speak of celestial beings who once descended upon the mountain, teaching the first people how to work stone and align it with the heavens. Others whisper that Samaipata was part of an ancient network of sacred sites stretching across South America, from Tiwanaku to Cusco, connected through invisible lines of energy that mirrored the constellations. Standing before the great rock, the landscape unfolds in silence. The surrounding valleys stretch toward the Amazon basin, and the air grows heavy with the feeling of age, of stories carved into the earth but never fully told. Each groove and symbol invites interpretation, yet resists certainty. Was Samaipata a temple devoted to the gods of the sun and stars, a monument of power left by an empire now forgotten, or something far older, evidence of a knowledge humanity once possessed and then lost? As the mist rolls across the monolith and the last light fades behind the Andes, the carvings seem to shift with the shadows, their forms almost alive. The stone breathes with memory, and for a moment it feels as if the mountain itself is whispering its story, one that humanity still struggles to hear. Perhaps, somewhere beneath its carved surface, the truth of Samaipata lies waiting, buried under centuries of silence, waiting for those who will one day read the language of the stone. High upon the slopes of Mount Parnassus, where the air carries the scent of pine and stone and the wind whispers through olive groves, stands a ruin that has captivated scholars and mystics alike for centuries. Beneath the sweeping Greek sky, surrounded by cliffs that seem to guard it in silence, lie the remains of the Tholos of Delphi, a circular temple that has defied both time and understanding. At dawn, light spills over the valley below, touching the marble columns that still rise from the earth, three standing proudly amid the broken fragments of what was once an architectural masterpiece. Their pale surfaces shimmer with age, glowing gold in the early sun. Even in ruin, the Tholos possesses a haunting perfection. Every curve, every proportion seems deliberate, crafted not just for beauty, but for harmony, as if it were built to resonate with something beyond the visible world. Constructed around the 4th century BC within the sanctuary of Athena Pranaya, the Tholos once formed part of a sacred complex that preceded the famous Temple of Apollo. Pilgrims traveled from across the ancient world to Delphi, believing it to be the very navel of the earth, the place where heaven and the underworld met, where mortals could seek divine counsel through the words of the oracle. Yet the Tholos, unlike the temple of prophecy above it, offers no clear explanation for its purpose. The structure itself is extraordinary. A perfect circle, 13.5 meters in diameter, once surrounded by 20 Doric columns and an inner ring of 10 Corinthian ones. Its floor was made of gleaming marble, inlaid with geometric designs whose symmetry is almost hypnotic. Beneath the foundations, archaeologists discovered a complex network of subterranean chambers, some cut into the bedrock, others built with fine masonry, whose function remains uncertain. Was the Tholos a shrine to Athena, as many believe? A monument to cosmic order, reflecting the divine geometry of the universe? Or something else entirely, a place of initiation, perhaps, where chosen individuals experienced mysteries now long forgotten? Mainstream historians often describe the Tholos as a work of artistic and architectural brilliance, a symbol of classical perfection and the Greek pursuit of proportion and balance. But standing among its stones, it is difficult not to sense something deeper. The air seems to hum faintly, as though the very earth beneath the site retains the vibrations of countless rituals once performed here. Some scholars have noted curious alignments. The Tholos appears positioned to catch the morning sun of specific days in the solar calendar, possibly marking equinoxes or solstices. Others have suggested that its circular form, unique among the rectangular temples of the time, symbolized eternity, the unbroken cycle of life, death, and rebirth. The Greeks themselves spoke of Delphi as the navel of the world, marked by the omphalos stone, believed to channel divine energy from the Earth's core. Could the Tholos have been built to harness or amplify that same energy, a kind of ancient harmonic device? Geological studies have revealed that the sanctuary of Delphi sits atop a fault line where gases, including ethylene, seep from the ground. Ancient sources describe the Pythia, the oracle priestess, falling into trance-like states, her visions emerging in cryptic, poetic fragments. Some believe the Tholos may have played a role in such rituals, its enclosed design and subterranean chambers possibly enhancing the natural vapors rising from below. If so, then architecture and geology together may have created the perfect conditions for contact with the divine. Yet the mysteries go beyond natural science. In recent decades, researchers have noticed similarities between the proportions of the Tholos and those found in sacred sites across the ancient world, from the Great Pyramid of Giza to Stonehenge. Ratios related to the golden mean, the same mathematical constant found in nature's spirals and the structure of galaxies, appear embedded in its design. Is this mere coincidence? Or did the builders of Delphi inherit a universal knowledge of geometry, an ancient code connecting heaven and earth? The question becomes even more intriguing when considering how the Tholos was constructed. The marble used came from distant quarries, transported and fitted with astonishing precision. The techniques required to achieve such balance and circular symmetry remain difficult to replicate even with modern tools. Who were the architects capable of such mastery, and what inspired their vision? As the day fades and the sun dips behind Mount Parnassus, the ruins of Delphi take on a quiet glow. The shadows stretch long between the remaining columns, and for a moment, the Tholos seems to breathe again, its stones remembering chants, footsteps, the flicker of oil lamps. Perhaps this place was never meant to be fully understood. Perhaps it was designed to evoke awe, to remind those who entered that the divine could not be captured, only approached. What truths were once spoken here? What voices echoed within this circle of stone, guiding the fate of kings and empires? And what might still linger beneath the earth, unseen, unheard, waiting for those who continue to ask the questions the ancients left behind? The Tholos of Delphi remains, as it has for millennia, an exquisite enigma carved into the heart of the mountain, where myth and memory become one. High in the mist-shrouded Andes of southern Peru, where clouds drift like silent spirits through deep green valleys, lies a hidden city, Choquequirao. Perched on a narrow ridge above the roaring Apurimac River, it is a place so remote that few have ever set foot there. The journey requires days of steep ascent, crossing ancient trails once trodden by Incan messengers and mountain traders. When the mist finally parts, the first glimpse of the terraces and stone stairways feels almost like stepping into another world, one suspended between the earth and the sky. Often called the sister city of Machu Picchu, Choquequirao remains one of the least understood Incan sites ever discovered. Its name, in the Quechua language, means cradle of gold. Yet no gold has ever been found here, only silence, wind, and stone. Archaeologists believe it was built during the late 15th century, possibly under the reign of the Emperor Pachacuti, the same visionary ruler credited with transforming Cusco and expanding the Incan Empire. But unlike Machu Picchu, Choquequirao seems deliberately concealed. The site lies hidden behind steep mountain folds, its terraces cascading down in graceful patterns that mirror the surrounding slopes. Was this isolation intentional? Historians suggest Choquequirao served as a ceremonial center and political stronghold during the empire's final years, perhaps even as a refuge for the Incas after the Spanish invasion. Its strategic location, overlooking deep ravines and natural defenses, certainly supports this idea. Yet, excavations have revealed something more enigmatic. Beneath the surface lies a complex of ritual platforms, storage buildings, and temples precisely aligned with the movement of the sun and stars. During the solstices, sunlight falls directly across carved stone lines and terraces, as if illuminating hidden messages written into the architecture itself. How did the builders achieve such precision, without iron tools, without the wheel, and with stones weighing several tons each? Some of the blocks fit together so tightly that even a blade of grass cannot pass between them. The walls bear marks of astonishing craftsmanship, each stone uniquely shaped to fit the next, as though molded rather than carved. Scholars attribute this mastery to generations of accumulated skill and experimentation. But there are others who see in these perfect seams the trace of something older, something predating the Incan Empire itself. In recent years, researchers have begun to notice architectural elements at Choquequirao that don't entirely match classic Incan design. Some of the lower terraces appear far older, built with a different technique: larger stones, smoother surfaces, and deeper foundations. Could it be that the Incas merely built upon the ruins of a much earlier civilization? The Andes are full of mysteries that hint at forgotten ages, cultures whose names and stories were erased long before the first Spanish chroniclers arrived. Local Quechua legends speak of Apu, sacred mountain spirits, that protect the secrets of the ancients. Some elders claim that Choquequirao is guarded by these forces, and that the mountains themselves choose who may enter. Others tell stories of subterranean tunnels linking Choquequirao to Machu Picchu and even Cusco, pathways through the earth once used by priests and astronomers. No such tunnels have yet been found, but the legends persist, carried on by those who still live among these peaks. Archaeologists continue to uncover new sectors of the site each year, revealing intricate water channels, ceremonial baths, and staircases that seem to lead nowhere. Curiously, many of these features are adorned with stylized patterns resembling llamas, a sacred animal to the Incas, etched into white quartz stones that gleam under the sunlight. Were these decorations symbolic offerings or part of a ritual calendar encoded into the landscape? What makes Choquequirao even more fascinating is the mystery of its abandonment. Unlike Machu Picchu, which was hidden from the outside world for centuries, Choquequirao seems to have been purposefully deserted. There are few signs of destruction or looting, only a sudden, quiet departure. Some suggest it was left behind as the last defenders of the Inca withdrew deeper into the jungle, fleeing the encroaching Spanish forces. Others whisper that it was never meant to be found at all, that it was a sacred place reserved for communication with the gods, abandoned only when those connections were severed. And yet, as the fog curls once again around its stone stairways and the echo of wind stirs through the terraces, the feeling remains that Choquequirao holds more than its stones reveal. What knowledge did its builders possess about the heavens, the earth, and the power that binds them? What ceremonies took place beneath those open skies, when firelight danced against the mountains and chants rose into the night? Even today, the site is not fully excavated. Perhaps less than half has been uncovered. The rest still sleeps beneath dense vegetation, awaiting discovery. Somewhere among those buried stones may lie answers, or only deeper questions. As twilight falls over the Andean peaks, the cradle of gold fades once more into mist, its true purpose still beyond reach. Perhaps that is its intention, to remind us that not all knowledge is meant to be reclaimed, and that some mysteries, carved in stone and silence, are meant to endure. Beneath the bustling modern streets of Paula, Malta, lies a world unlike any other, a subterranean labyrinth carved entirely by human hands over 5,000 years ago. The Hypogeum of Ħal-Saflieni is a place where stone, silence, and mystery intertwine. Step through its narrow passageways, and the air grows cooler, denser. The light fades, replaced by a reddish glow reflected off the limestone walls. It feels less like entering an archaeological site and more like descending into an ancient dream, one sculpted in darkness long before written history began. Discovered by accident in 1902 during construction work, the Hypogeum revealed a hidden world of chambers, altars, and tombs spanning 3 levels beneath the surface. Radiocarbon dating suggests its creation began around 4000 BC, during Malta's Neolithic period, when the island's megalithic temples were being raised above ground. But here, deep within the earth, the builders did something astonishing. They constructed a temple beneath the soil, with smooth walls, corbelled ceilings, and acoustically perfect chambers, all cut directly into solid rock. The craftsmanship defies simple explanation. Without metal tools or modern lighting, how did these builders carve such precise architectural forms, spirals, lintels, and curved passageways that seem engineered? Archaeologists describe the site as both temple and necropolis, a dual space of ritual and burial. Thousands of human remains were found within, their bones arranged in alcoves, accompanied by red ochre markings and carved figurines. Most notably, the mysterious Sleeping Lady, a small statue of a woman resting peacefully on her side. Was she a representation of death or eternal rebirth? At its core lies the Oracle Room, a small chamber whose acoustics are unlike anything else in the ancient world. A single male voice chanting inside can create deep, resonant vibrations that echo through the entire complex. The sound seems to travel through the rock itself, producing frequencies around 110 Hz, a tone known to affect human consciousness. Modern researchers who replicated these sounds described sensations of trance, calm, and even disorientation. Could the Hypogeum have been designed not merely for ceremony, but for altered states of mind? It's here that the line between archaeology and mystery blurs. Some propose that the Hypogeum served as an initiation center, where priests entered the underworld to commune with the divine. Others see it as a place of rebirth, where the dead were laid to rest within a womb-like structure mirroring the Earth's body. The rounded, organic shapes of the chambers echo this symbolism, life, death, and regeneration intertwined. Yet some details resist interpretation. In the deepest level, several rooms remain unfinished, as though construction stopped suddenly. Within these lower chambers, archaeologists discovered something unsettling: elongated skulls, distinct from typical human remains on Malta. Were these deformities the result of ritual cranial binding, genetic variation, or something more unusual? Records suggest the skulls were once studied at Malta's Museum of Archaeology before mysteriously disappearing in the mid-20th century. Only photographs and descriptions remain, sparking endless debate. Some argue their loss was due to poor record-keeping. Others suspect deliberate concealment of evidence that challenged accepted history. Beyond the skulls, strange stories emerged from early excavations, accounts of deep tunnels branching away from the Hypogeum, leading far beneath the island. One 1930s newspaper claimed that a group of school children vanished while exploring these passages, though officials denied it. Still, the idea of undiscovered chambers lurking in the darkness persists, fed by rumor and Malta's long tradition of subterranean myths. Scientific research revealed another enigma. The Hypogeum's builders seemed to understand acoustic resonance millennia before formal theory. Sound engineers found that certain chambers amplify frequencies capable of inducing altered mental states. Was this knowledge accidental, or part of an advanced spiritual science now lost to time? Perhaps the most haunting question is why it was built underground at all. While Malta's temples above ground reach upward toward the sun, the Hypogeum descends into the earth, into darkness. Was this a symbolic journey toward the afterlife, a gateway between worlds? Or did its creators seek communion not with the heavens, but with mysteries beneath their feet? Today, entry to the Hypogeum is strictly limited. Only a handful of visitors are allowed inside each day to preserve its fragile microclimate. Those who enter describe a profound stillness, as though time itself slows within those carved halls. The red ochre spirals on the walls, ancient symbols of eternity, still glow faintly in the dim light, whispering of a civilization that sought understanding through stone and sound. And yet, despite over a century of study, the Hypogeum of Ħal-Saflieni continues to guard its secrets. Who carved this labyrinth? What knowledge guided their hands in the dark? And what might still lie hidden in the uncharted depths beneath Malta, waiting to be rediscovered? As we rise once more from the underground silence of Malta's Hypogeum, our journey carries us east, across deserts, mountains, and rivers, to a land that once nurtured one of humanity's earliest great civilizations. Along the ancient banks of the Indus River, in what is now modern-day Pakistan, lies a city that should not have existed in its time, at least not with such sophistication. This is Mohenjo-Daro, the Mound of the Dead. Under the relentless sun, its ruins stretch across the plain in haunting stillness. Streets paved with baked brick intersect at perfect right angles, lined with uniform houses and multi-story dwellings. Wells stand in nearly every courtyard, and beneath the city runs a complex drainage network. Public baths, built with meticulous precision, suggest a concern for cleanliness, and perhaps something more. It feels strangely familiar, as though one could still walk its streets today and find the systems working. And yet, this city was built around 2500 BC, when much of the world still lived in tribal settlements and primitive huts. Archaeologists have long marveled at Mohenjo-Daro's layout. Unlike other ancient cities that evolved over time, this one was planned, deliberately and precisely. It followed a grid, divided into sections for living, trade, and ceremony. There is purpose here, an underlying intelligence. Some scholars see in it an early form of civic governance, where social order relied not on kings or priests, but on shared systems and cooperation. Others suggest the city's perfection hints at something deeper, a level of knowledge we don't usually attribute to the ancient world. At its heart lies the Great Bath, a massive pool nearly 40 feet long and 8 feet deep, sealed with waterproof brick and bitumen. Surrounding chambers indicate it wasn't merely for hygiene. Perhaps it served as a sacred space, a place of ritual cleansing or spiritual rebirth. Or perhaps its purpose remains beyond modern understanding. Then comes the question that has haunted researchers for nearly a century. How could such an advanced city simply disappear? Around 1900 BC, Mohenjo-Daro fell silent. Its people vanished. The city was swallowed by silt and time, forgotten until its rediscovery in the 1920s. Mainstream explanations point to climate change, shifting rivers, or slow migration. Yet some findings resist these answers. In several areas, archaeologists found human remains scattered in the streets, bodies lying face down, as if struck down suddenly. There were no signs of violence, no evidence of invasion or fire. It was as though death had swept through the city in an instant. In the mid-20th century, a controversial idea emerged. Some researchers observed that portions of the city showed signs of extreme heat, bricks fused together as if melted by temperatures far beyond any ancient furnace. They proposed something unthinkable, that Mohenjo-Daro might have been destroyed by an ancient explosion, even atomic in nature. The theory, first raised by Indian geologist D.N. Wadia and echoed by others, drew eerie comparisons to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Mainstream science dismissed the claim. No abnormal radiation levels were found, and the notion of prehistoric nuclear technology seemed absurd. Yet the vitrified bricks remain, a riddle without resolution. Could such heat have been caused by a lightning strike, a meteor impact, or some unknown geological event? Or might it hint at a forgotten catastrophe, one beyond the boundaries of conventional history? Adding to the mystery is the script of the Indus Valley itself. Thousands of seals and tablets bear intricate symbols, carved with mathematical precision. They represent a language no one has yet deciphered. Despite decades of study, its meaning remains locked away. The voices of this lost civilization speak in silence. Artifacts tell their own quiet stories. Figurines of men and women with enigmatic expressions, jewelry of remarkable craftsmanship, and seals bearing animals and strange motifs. One depicts a seated figure surrounded by beasts, resembling the later Hindu god Shiva. Could this be one of the earliest depictions of divine philosophy in South Asia? Or a memory of an even older belief system now lost to time? Some researchers believe Mohenjo-Daro was a hub of advanced hydraulic engineering, possibly linked to other Indus cities through subterranean canals. Others note its streets are aligned with cardinal directions, suggesting a knowledge of astronomy and geometry far ahead of its era. And yet, what defines Mohenjo-Daro most is not what has been found, but what has not. There are no palaces, no grand temples, no evidence of monarchs or armies. How could a civilization this advanced function without visible rulers or monuments to power? Was it governed by consensus, by community, or by a forgotten form of organization we can no longer imagine? As evening settles over the ruins, the Indus plain glows in fading gold. The warm wind drifts through empty streets, whispering across bricks that still bear the fingerprints of their makers. They endure, patient, silent, waiting for someone to finally read their message. Mohenjo-Daro challenges the very chronology of civilization. It forces us to reconsider what it means to be advanced. It hints that progress may not be a straight line, but a cycle, rising, falling, and vanishing, only to rise again. What if the wisdom that built this city was not lost, but merely forgotten, buried beneath the sediment of time, waiting for us to remember? From the dusty plains of the Indus, our journey moves west, across deserts and seas, to a place where mountains rise sharply from the earth and ancient stones rest in solemn stillness. In the fertile Bekaa Valley of modern-day Lebanon lies Baalbek, a site that defies imagination. Here, massive blocks of stone form the foundations of one of the grandest temple complexes of the ancient world. Among them, 3 colossal monoliths, the famed Trilithon, rest quietly in their place, as though laid there by gods rather than men. Each block measures over 65 feet in length and weighs an estimated 800 tons. Together, they form part of the foundation platform of the Temple of Jupiter, an architectural wonder that once crowned this sacred hill. Above these ancient stones rose towering Roman columns, some of the largest ever built. But the trilithon beneath them, so immense, so precisely fitted, predates the Roman structures by centuries, perhaps even millennia. Standing before them, one can't help but feel awe. The stones appear almost alive, warm under the sun, weathered by thousands of years, yet unyielding. How were they moved? How were they lifted, aligned, and set so perfectly that even a blade of grass cannot slip between their seams? These questions linger like echoes through time. Mainstream archaeology attributes Baalbek's great platform to Roman engineering during the 1st century BC, when Emperor Augustus ordered the building of a grand temple complex dedicated to Jupiter, Venus, and Bacchus. The Romans were indeed master builders, capable of extraordinary feats. Yet even they left no records explaining how the Trilithon stones were quarried, transported, or placed. Just south of the temple ruins lies an even greater enigma, the ancient quarry of Baalbek. Here rests the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, a single block of limestone weighing over 1,000 tons, one of the largest stones ever cut by human hands. Nearby, archaeologists have uncovered yet another block, even larger, estimated at 1,650 tons. Each was carved but never moved, abandoned for reasons unknown. If the Romans were truly responsible, how did they intend to transport such monoliths over uneven terrain? Their cranes and lifting technology, as far as we know, were limited to stones weighing a fraction of that. Was there an earlier phase of construction, one belonging to a civilization whose techniques have been lost to time? Some researchers propose that the massive platform at Baalbek was originally built by local Semitic cultures, possibly the Canaanites or Phoenicians, as a temple to Baal, the storm and fertility god who gave the site its ancient name Baalbek, meaning City of Baal. Later, the Romans may have expanded upon this foundation, integrating their own temples atop it. This theory aligns with the layered history of the site, where each generation built upon the sacred ground of those before them. But others look deeper, asking whether even the Phoenicians inherited something far older. Legends passed down through local tradition tell of giants, titans who shaped the platform before the flood. Ancient Greek historians, such as Herodotus, referred to Baalbek as Heliopolis, the city of the sun, suggesting a connection to solar worship and the mysterious alignment of its structures with celestial events. Could the Trilithon have been part of a forgotten megalithic culture, one that possessed techniques for moving massive stones long before the rise of Rome? Or did the builders harness natural forces, perhaps through vibration, leverage, or water pressure, that allowed them to manipulate weight on a scale we no longer understand? Some fringe theories venture even further, proposing that Baalbek's stones bear evidence of lost technology, or that the site may have served as an ancient landing platform for celestial visitors. Such ideas remain speculative and unproven, yet they persist, born from the undeniable sense of otherworldliness the place evokes. When night falls over Baalbek, the ruins take on an ethereal glow. The stars above the Bekaa Valley shimmer directly over the ancient stones, and one begins to sense why this place was so revered. For thousands of years, it has been a center of worship, first for Baal, then for Jupiter, and later for those who came seeking connection with something eternal. Archaeologists continue to uncover traces of ancient foundations beneath the Roman temples, massive walls built in different styles and orientations, suggesting multiple phases of occupation. Yet the deeper they dig, the more elusive the origins become. Beneath every answer lies another question. Why did the builders of Baalbek need stones of such unimaginable size? Was it merely to impress, or did these monoliths serve a deeper purpose, perhaps tied to energy, stability, or resonance with the earth itself? Standing before the Trilithon today, one feels a strange tension between human ingenuity and cosmic mystery. These stones are both earthly and divine, crafted by human hands, yet seemingly beyond human scale. They whisper of a time when architecture was not only construction but communication, a dialogue between man, earth, and the heavens. And so, Baalbek remains, part Roman grandeur, part prehistoric enigma, part myth made stone. Its walls do not speak, yet they seem to remember. The question lingers in the desert air. Who first laid these colossal foundations, and what forgotten purpose did they serve beneath the watchful gaze of the ancient sun? Beneath the clear, turquoise waters off the southern coast of Yonaguni, Japan's westernmost island, lies a structure that has baffled scientists, divers, and historians for decades. The ocean here is calm yet powerful, shifting light through the water in wavering sheets that dance over massive terraces of stone. Rising from the seafloor, the monument looks almost deliberate. Its vast steps, sharp edges, and geometric patterns evoke the remnants of a sunken city. Fish drift through corridors that resemble passageways, while divers hover before walls that seem carved by human hands. It is a place that feels both hauntingly ancient and eerily out of place. Discovered in 1986 by local diver Kihachiro Aratake, the Yonaguni Monument lies about 80 feet below the surface, measuring over 150 meters long and 25 meters high. From above, it appears as a giant pyramid or ziggurat, its rectangular platforms stacked with astonishing symmetry. Some surfaces are smooth and planar, intersected by near-perfect right angles, while others form stairways, terraces, and what appear to be wide boulevards leading to flat plazas. To many who have seen it firsthand, it does not look like a random product of nature. It looks designed. But designed by whom? Mainstream geologists argue that Yonaguni's forms are entirely natural, shaped by millennia of tectonic uplift, oceanic erosion, and the island's unique sandstone composition. They point out that the region's rock fractures along horizontal and vertical planes, naturally forming steps and blocks that mimic man-made architecture. To them, the monument is an example of nature's uncanny ability to imitate design, a geological coincidence amplified by human imagination. Yet, others remain unconvinced. Japanese marine geologist Masaki Kimura, who spent years studying the site, claimed that he found evidence of tool marks, post holes, and even arrangements of stone that could have supported structures long ago. He suggested that Yonaguni might once have been part of an ancient city, possibly destroyed when rising seas swallowed it at the end of the last Ice Age, around 10,000 BC. If true, that would make it older than any known civilization on Earth, older even than the Great Pyramids of Egypt or the megaliths of Stonehenge. Could such a civilization have existed, advanced, organized, and capable of monumental stonework, so deep in prehistory? Or are we simply seeing what we wish to see, projecting order onto chaos, meaning onto rock? Divers who have explored the monument describe formations resembling a massive staircase, a ceremonial platform, and even what looks like a carved human face gazing silently through the murky blue. Some claim to have found pathways connecting the structure to others nearby, forming what could be the outline of an entire submerged complex. To believers, this is proof of a lost civilization, perhaps one remembered dimly in the world's flood myths, the story of Atlantis, or of Mu, the legendary Pacific continent said to have vanished beneath the sea. The idea of Mu, a vast Pacific land once home to an advanced culture, has long lingered at the edges of archaeology. First proposed in the 19th century, it was dismissed as fantasy, a tale born of speculation rather than evidence. But sites like Yonaguni invite renewed curiosity. What if some part of that legend holds a grain of truth? Could this monument be one of the last surviving testaments to a forgotten chapter of human history, erased by time and water? Skeptics counter that imagination can easily fill the gaps left by erosion. They note that underwater lighting and sediment play tricks on the eyes, and that currents may exaggerate the monument's symmetry. To them, Yonaguni's mystery lies not in what it reveals, but in how the human mind interprets it. When confronted with the vastness of the unknown, we reach instinctively for stories to make sense of it. And yet, the questions persist. Why are some of the surfaces so evenly cut, so sharp, so clean, as if sliced by intent rather than shaped by chance? Why do the steps align so neatly or the corners meet so precisely? Could ancient hands have once walked these terraces before the rising tides claimed them? Even sonar scans have yielded more questions than answers. Some readings hint at rectangular formations extending beyond the main site, suggesting there may be more beneath the sand. But excavation is nearly impossible. The ocean guards its secrets well. As the sun dips below the horizon, Yonaguni's submerged world fades back into the deep, leaving only the whisper of currents and the slow hum of mystery. Whether sculpted by nature's patient hand or by the forgotten ambition of humankind, the monument remains a threshold between history and legend, science and myth. Perhaps, somewhere in that quiet place below the waves, lies the memory of a civilization long gone, or a message carved in stone by forces we still cannot fully comprehend. For now, the Yonaguni Monument endures, silent, immense, and unknowable, an ancient enigma resting in the blue depths of time. High in the mist-shrouded mountains of southern Colombia lies a landscape of quiet, haunting beauty. The air is cool and heavy with the scent of rain-soaked earth and wild orchids. Green hills roll endlessly toward the horizon, concealing secrets that have slumbered for centuries. Here, along the banks of the Magdalena River, stands San Agustín Archaeological Park, a place where stone seems to breathe and where the line between myth and history fades into shadow. Scattered across the valley are hundreds of statues, towering monoliths carved from volcanic rock, their faces frozen in enigmatic expressions. Some appear human, others animal, and many seem to exist somewhere in between. Warriors, jaguars, eagles, serpents, each rendered with astonishing precision and purpose. Some figures cradle infants or staffs, others bear teeth in eternal vigilance. The carvings range from gentle and protective to fierce and otherworldly, their eyes wide and unblinking, as though still watching the living. The silence here feels almost sacred. When the morning fog drifts through the forest, it moves between the statues like a ghost, brushing their worn surfaces with a pale spectral light. The effect is unsettling. These ancient guardians seem less like relics and more like sentinels, forever keeping watch over a world that has forgotten their creators. Archaeologists believe the San Agustín culture flourished between 1000 BC and 800 AD. Yet, remarkably little is known about the people who carved these stones. No written language has ever been found. No clear evidence of kings, empires, or great wars. The civilization seems to have risen and vanished quietly, leaving behind only its stone legacy, a collection of sculptures, burial mounds, and ceremonial platforms that hint at a deep spiritual and cosmological understanding. At the heart of the park lies the Fuente de Lavapatas, a sacred spring carved into the bedrock of a mountain stream. Its channels and pools are etched with intricate figures of humans, animals, and abstract shapes, symbols believed to represent fertility, transformation, and the journey between life and death. When sunlight filters through the trees and reflects off the water, the carvings shimmer and ripple, as if alive. Scholars describe it as a ritual site, perhaps a place where shamans performed ceremonies to communicate with the spirit world. But beyond that, the purpose of the site remains uncertain. Who were the gods depicted in stone? What stories did they tell? Why did this culture, capable of such profound artistry and organization, disappear without a trace? Mainstream archaeologists suggest that environmental change, shifting trade routes, or internal migration may have led to the decline of the San Agustín culture. Yet for many visitors standing among the statues, the explanations feel incomplete. The carvings are too deliberate, too consistent in theme and alignment, to be mere expressions of local custom. Some of the statues seem to point toward celestial events, the rising and setting of stars, the path of the sun across the solstice sky. Could the builders have been ancient astronomers, mapping the heavens with stone? Others wonder whether these monoliths were intended as spiritual conduits, designed to link the mortal world with the unseen. Then there are more speculative ideas, those that reach beyond conventional archaeology. A few researchers have noted similarities between the San Agustín sculptures and carvings found in distant cultures, in Central America, across the Pacific, even as far as Easter Island. Could there have been ancient contact between civilizations long before written history suggests? Or are these resemblances simply a reflection of shared human imagination, a universal impulse to give form to the divine? Some stones defy easy explanation. Certain figures appear to wear helmets or hold objects resembling modern instruments. Others depict hybrid beings, part human, part animal, as though capturing a moment of transformation or an encounter with something not of this world. Were these merely spiritual symbols? Or could they represent something the sculptors actually witnessed? Standing before these massive sentinels, one cannot help but feel their presence. They seem aware, rooted in another age, yet still pulsing with meaning. The hands that carved them are gone, their language lost, their beliefs half understood, and yet, across thousands of years, their message endures, carved in silence. Even now, excavations in the surrounding hills continue to uncover new relics, hidden tombs, fragments of pottery, ritual tools. Each discovery adds another piece to the puzzle, but never completes the picture. The more we learn, the more questions emerge. As the light fades over the Andes, the statues of San Agustín seem to come alive in the twilight. Their eyes catch the last glint of the setting sun, and for a moment, it feels as though they remember something vast and ancient, beyond the reach of modern memory. Perhaps these stones are more than monuments. Perhaps they are messages, left by a people who understood the world in ways we have long since forgotten. And so, the mystery remains. What power guided the hands that shaped these stones? What stories still lie buried beneath the Colombian soil, waiting to be uncovered by time or by chance? Beneath the sun-bleached plains of Cappadocia, where strange stone spires rise like frozen sentinels from the earth, an entire world lies hidden underground. Narrow passages descend into the darkness, winding past chambers carved from volcanic rock, rooms large enough to hold families, livestock, even entire congregations. This is Derinkuyu, a vast subterranean city buried hundreds of feet below the surface, concealed for centuries beneath an unassuming Turkish village. Discovered by chance in the 1960s, when a man renovating his home broke through a wall and found a hidden corridor, Derinkuyu revealed a secret of staggering proportions. What began as a small cave led to tunnels that stretched endlessly in all directions, descending through level after level, revealing kitchens, wells, ventilation shafts, and stables. It was a city, an ancient metropolis beneath the earth, capable of housing nearly 20,000 people. But who built it? And why would an entire civilization choose to live underground, in the cold embrace of darkness? Historians trace Derinkuyu's origins back thousands of years, possibly to the early Hittite period, around the 2nd millennium BC. Some suggest it was expanded later by the Phrygians, known for their rock-carving traditions. The soft, volcanic tuff of Cappadocia made excavation possible, but what's remarkable is the precision. Narrow corridors twist strategically, connecting vast communal spaces. Heavy circular stone doors, weighing hundreds of kilograms, could be rolled across entryways to seal off each level. Air shafts provided ventilation, ensuring a steady supply of oxygen deep below ground. Wells were carefully positioned to avoid contamination from the surface. It was not a haphazard refuge. It was engineered with care, foresight, and expertise. The most accepted theory suggests Derinkuyu served as a shelter. Invaders swept through Anatolia for centuries. Persians, Assyrians, and later Arab armies. These underground cities may have protected local populations from raids. And yet, certain details complicate that idea. The depth alone, some passages plunging more than 280 feet, seems excessive for temporary refuge. The scale, too, feels disproportionate. Why build a network large enough to sustain tens of thousands for months, perhaps years? Inside, the atmosphere feels deliberate, almost ritualistic. Chambers arranged in circular patterns, niches carved into walls, and altars suggest that life underground extended beyond mere survival. Some archaeologists have proposed that these were not just shelters, but entire functioning communities, places of worship, learning, and governance, existing parallel to the world above. Others, however, see something even older beneath the layers of human history. A few researchers point to geological evidence suggesting portions of Derinkuyu predate known Anatolian civilizations entirely. If true, who or what first carved these chambers? More speculative theories emerge from this mystery. Some propose that Derinkuyu was built as protection, not from armies, but from something far greater: environmental catastrophe. Massive floods, meteorological upheaval, or cosmic events have all been floated as possibilities. Within this view, Derinkuyu was a kind of ark, an underground bastion built to withstand devastation above. Curiously, local legends seem to echo this idea. Folktales in the region speak of ancient peoples who fled the wrath of the skies and hid beneath the earth until the fire passed. Were these myths poetic exaggerations or fragmented memories of a forgotten disaster? There are also whispers of something more enigmatic, that Derinkuyu might connect to an extensive subterranean network stretching beneath Cappadocia, linking other underground settlements, Kaymakli, Ozkonak, Mazi, and many more. If true, the combined network could span dozens of miles. Some maps and reports suggest overlapping tunnel systems, though none have been confirmed beyond speculation. Could these cities have formed a hidden world beneath ancient Anatolia? A secret civilization below the surface of the earth? What's even more haunting is the silence of its builders. No inscriptions, no records, no definitive clues about the people who first descended into the volcanic stone. Whoever they were, they left nothing behind. No royal seals, no written language, no hint of identity. The emptiness feels intentional, as if the city itself was meant to be forgotten. And yet, the design betrays intelligence and purpose. The smallest details, grooves carved into walls for torches, chambers acoustically tuned for speech, ventilation shafts that regulate temperature and airflow, reveal a knowledge of engineering far ahead of its time. Was this mastery the product of generations of refinement? Or does it hint at a lost technological tradition erased by time? Today, Derinkuyu stands as one of humanity's greatest subterranean enigmas. Visitors descend through its narrow corridors, guided by dim light, feeling the weight of countless tons of stone above them. The air grows cooler, heavier. Voices echo in the distance, low, distorted, almost ghostly. Down here, time seems suspended. As we climb back to the surface, the questions remain. Who first carved this labyrinth into the heart of the earth? What drove them into the dark? And perhaps most haunting of all, how many more worlds like this still lie buried beneath our feet, waiting to be uncovered? Perhaps somewhere below, the stones of Derinkuyu still guard the memory of an age long forgotten, one that whispers faintly through the silence of the deep. High in the mist-covered hills of West Java, Indonesia, an ancient mystery rests beneath a shroud of green. Rising from the dense tropical forest, Gunung Padang appears at first glance to be nothing more than a weathered hill dotted with stone pillars. But as one ascends its terraced slopes, the pattern becomes unmistakable. Massive basalt columns, carefully arranged, forming platforms and stairways that seem to defy the randomness of nature. This is not a mountain. It is a monument. Gunung Padang, which means Mountain of Light in the Sundanese language, has long been revered by locals as a sacred site. For generations, villagers spoke of it as a place of the ancestors, a gateway between worlds. Yet, only in recent decades have archaeologists begun to uncover what lies beneath the surface, and the findings have stirred both fascination and controversy. The visible terraces, 5 in total, sit atop a hill that reaches nearly 900 meters above sea level. The stones, hexagonal and neatly aligned, weigh hundreds of kilograms each. Some are upright like sentinels, others form walls, pavements, and chambers. At first, scholars believed the site to be a megalithic sanctuary built around 500 BC, possibly used for ritual gatherings. But then came a series of studies that changed everything. Ground-penetrating radar, core drilling, and seismic tomography revealed that the visible structure is only the beginning. Beneath the terraces lies an intricate network, chambers, corridors, and layered constructions, descending deep into the earth. Preliminary dating of the buried layers has produced astonishing results. Some samples suggest human activity as far back as 10,000 BC, and others, if accurate, extend even further to nearly 20,000 BC. If these results hold true, Gunung Padang could be the oldest known man-made structure on Earth, built millennia before the pyramids of Egypt or Stonehenge in Britain. Yet such a claim challenges nearly everything we think we know about the dawn of civilization. Could a sophisticated society have existed in Indonesia at the end of the last ice age? Mainstream archaeologists urge caution. They argue that the dating methods might reflect natural geological formations or later intrusions of organic material into older volcanic layers. To them, Gunung Padang is an impressive but local megalithic site, built by an advanced Neolithic community but not by an unknown Ice Age civilization. The terraces, they say, were shaped from volcanic rock already fractured into natural columns, arranged by hand for ceremonial use. Still, others see in the evidence something that defies easy dismissal. The sheer scale, the apparent geometry, and the multi-layered structure suggest deliberate engineering on a level unusual for the era. Indonesian geologist Danny Hilman Natawijaya, who led several of the geophysical surveys, proposed that Gunung Padang might conceal a massive ancient pyramid beneath the mountain itself, a monument built by an unknown culture thousands of years before history officially began. If true, this would rewrite the story of human civilization. It would suggest that, long before Mesopotamia, Egypt, or the Indus Valley, advanced builders thrived in the tropics of Southeast Asia, only to vanish, leaving behind silent stones and questions without answers. The idea resonates with legends scattered across the Indonesian archipelago, tales of great kingdoms swallowed by the sea, of floods and fire, of gods descending from the sky. Some researchers link these stories to the myth of Atlantis, proposing that Gunung Padang might be a surviving remnant of that lost world, preserved on high ground while much of its civilization perished beneath rising oceans at the end of the Ice Age. Others suggest more earthly explanations. Perhaps Gunung Padang was a spiritual center, constructed over generations by different cultures, each building upon the work of their ancestors. The layering of stone and soil, the blending of natural and artificial elements, might reflect a long continuum of use, an evolving sacred mountain where ancient peoples sought connection with the divine. Yet the mystery persists in the data. Beneath the terraces, the seismic scans continue to show hollow spaces, voids deep within the hill. Are these natural caves or man-made chambers sealed long ago? No one yet knows. Excavation is limited, both by the fragility of the site and by political and academic disputes surrounding its interpretation. Standing at the summit, surrounded by the whisper of wind and the scent of damp earth, one can almost sense the weight of time pressing through the stones. The columns are cool to the touch, their surfaces scarred by centuries of rain. Beneath them, the hill itself seems to breathe, a buried monument waiting for its story to be told. What if beneath Gunung Padang lies not just the echo of an ancient people, but a record of an epoch erased from history? Could this hill conceal the memory of a civilization lost to time, its knowledge buried under layers of earth and skepticism? Or is it simply a natural wonder, magnified by human imagination, a reminder of how easily myth and science intertwine? For now, Gunung Padang remains silent, its secrets locked within the stone. And perhaps that silence is its greatest mystery, a quiet defiance against our assumptions about where and when humanity's first great builders truly began. High in the Peruvian Andes, where the thin mountain air carries whispers of ancient empires, lies a fortress that defies time, and perhaps understanding. The site of Sacsayhuamán, perched above the historic city of Cusco, gazes over the sacred valley like a silent sentinel. At first glance, its colossal walls appear as though nature itself had sculpted them. Gigantic stones, some weighing over 300 tons, fit together with such precision that not even a blade of grass or a sheet of paper can slide between them. Yet these walls were shaped and set by human hands, or so we believe. As morning light spills across the terraces, the stones gleam with a quiet, ageless power. Their smooth, interlocking surfaces curve and bend around each other like a puzzle carved from the mountain itself. Each block is unique in shape, no two alike, yet every one fits perfectly into its neighbors without the use of mortar. How was such a feat achieved, and by whom? Archaeologists generally attribute the construction of Sacsayhuamán to the Inca civilization around the 15th century. The Inca, after all, were master builders, engineers who carved roads across impossible terrain and raised cities among the clouds. Yet, even within this proud legacy, Sacsayhuamán stands apart. The site's scale and precision surpass anything else in the Inca world. Some of the largest stones, rising more than 20 feet high, are believed to have been quarried miles away, then transported uphill along steep, rugged slopes. Mainstream historians suggest the Inca used a combination of stone hammers, levers, and ramps, slowly shaping each rock to fit its destined place. But no tools from that era have been found that could explain such smooth, glass-like cuts. Nor has any convincing evidence shown how the Inca, without wheels, iron, or draft animals, moved stones of such extraordinary weight. Even among Andean scholars, the construction process remains shrouded in uncertainty. Did the builders use some lost technique, perhaps heating and softening stone with plant extracts or mineral compounds, as a few researchers have proposed? Could they have harnessed an understanding of geometry and vibration so advanced that it bordered on the impossible? The deeper one looks, the more questions appear. In 1536, during the Spanish conquest, the invaders were astonished by Sacsayhuamán's walls. Chroniclers described them as the work of demons, unable to believe that mortal men had built them. Centuries later, explorers and engineers echoed similar disbelief. How could an ancient civilization, without modern technology, have achieved such a level of perfection? Some fringe theorists have gone further still. They point to legends preserved in Andean oral traditions, stories of gods descending from the sky, teaching the early peoples how to move the mountains themselves. These tales speak of Viracocha, the great creator deity, who emerged from the waters of Lake Titicaca to bring light and civilization. Was Sacsayhuamán, they ask, a gift from these sky beings? Or could it represent an inheritance from a civilization long forgotten, predating the Inca by thousands of years? Geological studies have added fuel to the debate. Beneath the visible walls lie foundations that seem far older than the upper layers, suggesting the site may have been built, rebuilt, and expanded over different epochs. Some researchers propose that the Inca may have merely restored an already ancient structure, inheriting both its mystery and its might. And then there is the layout itself. From above, the zigzagging walls resemble the shape of lightning, or perhaps the fangs of a great puma, a sacred animal in Incan mythology. Cusco, the Inca capital, was said to be built in the image of that same creature, with Sacsayhuamán forming its head. Was this symbolic architecture, or does it conceal a deeper astronomical or energetic design? Some have speculated that the walls align with solstices or natural telluric currents, making Sacsayhuamán not a fortress, but a kind of cosmic instrument, harmonizing earth and sky. The mystery deepens as the sun sets behind the Andes. The stones, warm from the day's light, glow faintly in the fading orange sky. Touching them, one feels both their immense solidity and their quiet, inexplicable elegance. They stand not only as a testament to human ingenuity, but as a challenge to human understanding. Every culture that has studied Sacsayhuamán seems to reach the same threshold, an acknowledgement that we do not yet possess the full story. Was it truly the pinnacle of Incan engineering, or a surviving fragment of an earlier, forgotten world? Perhaps, as some locals still whisper, the stones themselves remember. Perhaps beneath those silent walls lies knowledge of a civilization whose methods and motives are still buried in the Andean soil. For now, Sacsayhuamán remains what it has always been, a riddle written in stone, older than our certainty, stronger than our theories, and enduring as the mountains that surround it. On the high plateau of Mpumalanga, South Africa, where the wind hums across vast fields of golden grass and stone, lies a circle of monoliths that has puzzled explorers, archaeologists, and mystics alike. Locals call it Adam's Calendar, a mysterious arrangement of standing stones perched on the edge of a dramatic escarpment overlooking the Barberton Valley. At first glance, it appears modest compared to the great monuments of Egypt or the megaliths of Stonehenge. Yet beneath its humble outline, many believe, lies a mystery that could rewrite the story of human civilization itself. Bathed in morning light, the stones cast long shadows across the land, shadows that some claim mark precise celestial alignments. Two central monoliths, weathered and ancient, stand like silent sentinels, their orientation pointing toward the cardinal directions and the rising and setting of the sun. It is from these alignments that the site earned its evocative nickname, a calendar, written not in ink or clay, but in stone and sky. Mainstream archaeologists have long known of similar stone circles scattered throughout southern Africa, over 20,000 of them, remnants of early cattle herding or agricultural communities that flourished a few thousand years ago. But Adam's calendar is different. Its stones are larger, more deliberate, and set apart in a pattern that seems intentional, almost mathematical. For some, it is simply a prehistoric observatory used by early people to track the passage of seasons and celestial events. For others, however, the site may hold far deeper significance. In the early 2000s, a South African researcher named Michael Tellinger brought international attention to the circle. His studies suggested that Adam's calendar could be far older than previously thought, perhaps as much as 75,000 years old, making it, if true, the world's oldest known man-made structure. According to Tellinger and others who share his view, the stones are not random or accidental. They are aligned with the solstices, equinoxes, and even the constellation of Orion as it appeared in the distant past. Such precision, he argues, could only have been achieved by an advanced and organized society, one with astronomical knowledge that rivals, or even predates, that of ancient Egypt and Sumer. Yet these claims are met with deep skepticism in the academic world. Radiocarbon dating cannot directly test the stones themselves, and the absence of inscriptions, tools, or artifacts makes the site difficult to place within any known timeline. Many archaeologists classify it as a natural formation later modified by early settlers or perhaps a cattle enclosure built by Iron Age communities. Still, even among skeptics, the site's deliberate alignments remain intriguing, too orderly to be entirely accidental. Beyond science, local legends lend their own voice to the mystery. The Zulu people speak of a time when the gods walked the earth, mining gold and teaching early humans the secrets of life. They tell of a being named Enkai, who descended from the heavens, and of sacred mountains where time itself began. Some see echoes of these stories in the stones of Adam's calendar, perhaps a mythic memory of something long forgotten. Tellinger, building on such tales, proposed an even bolder theory. He suggested that this area of southern Africa may have been the cradle of humanity's first advanced civilization, possibly connected to the Anunnaki, the so-called gods of Sumerian legend, said to have come to Earth in search of gold. According to this interpretation, Adam's calendar might not only mark celestial events, but also serve as a gateway to humanity's lost origins, a birthplace of civilization, and perhaps of humankind itself. These ideas, while captivating, exist at the edges of accepted history. Yet they resonate with a deep human curiosity, the sense that our past may be far more complex and far older than we dare to imagine. Even if one sets aside the more speculative theories, Adam's calendar remains a profound enigma. Who arranged these stones? What purpose guided their design? And why does their placement align so precisely with the movements of the heavens? Standing there, amid the whispering grass and the endless sky, one cannot help but feel the gravity of the place. The stones hum faintly in the wind, their surfaces etched by time, their silence older than any written word. Perhaps they are no more than the remnants of a forgotten community's observatory. Or perhaps they are something greater, a message carved in stone, left by a people whose understanding of the cosmos has long since vanished. As the sun dips below the horizon, its rays cut between the standing monoliths in perfect alignment, just as they must have done for thousands upon thousands of years. And in that moment, one is left to wonder, are we standing at the threshold of history, or at the edge of a memory that predates it? Across the mist-covered highlands of northern Laos, where the hills roll like ancient waves frozen in time, lies one of Asia's most enigmatic archaeological landscapes. Scattered across vast plains are thousands of massive stone jars, some taller than a human being, others so heavy that even modern machinery struggles to move them. This is the Plain of Jars, a silent riddle carved into the earth, stretching across miles of rugged terrain. At dawn, when the fog hangs low and the air hums with the sound of distant cicadas, the jars appear ghostly. Gray silhouettes rising from the grass, their hollow mouths turned toward the sky. No inscriptions mark them. No carvings tell their story. Only their immense presence remains, each one a vessel of mystery, left behind by a civilization long vanished. Archaeologists have cataloged over 2,100 jars spread across multiple sites in the Xiangquang Plateau, with some weighing more than 10 tons. They are carved from sandstone, granite, and limestone, materials not always native to the immediate surroundings. How, then, were they transported and arranged here, centuries before the arrival of modern tools or vehicles? Most experts date the jars to the Iron Age, roughly between 500 BC and 200 AD, though some argue they may be even older. Their purpose remains a matter of debate. Excavations have uncovered fragments of human remains, beads, and pottery near or within some jars, suggesting a possible funerary use. Perhaps they were once part of elaborate burial rituals, temporary resting places where bodies were left to decompose before final interment. Yet, for all the evidence unearthed, definitive answers remain elusive. Why were the jars placed in such great numbers and across such a vast landscape? And why do they vary so dramatically in size and form? Some towering upright, others lying toppled, as if struck down by time or cataclysm. According to one local legend, the jars were used by an ancient race of giants who once ruled these hills. They say the giants brewed rice wine in them to celebrate victory in battle, the jars serving as great drinking vessels for a long-forgotten king. Another tale speaks of spirits who created the jars to capture monsoon rainwater, sustaining them through seasons of drought. Such stories, passed down through generations, carry the weight of myth, but also a kind of memory, echoing a time when the world felt larger and more mysterious. Modern researchers, cautious but curious, have explored more practical theories. Some propose that the jars were not used for burial at all, but as storage containers for water, grain, or fermented food. The plateau's climate, with heavy rains followed by dry seasons, might have necessitated such ingenuity. But if that were true, why the monumental scale? Why the meticulous shaping of stone rather than clay or wood, which would have been far easier to work with? There is also the puzzle of their placement. Many jars align with ancient trade routes that once linked the Mekong River basin to distant regions of Southeast Asia. Could the Plain of Jars have served as a ceremonial waypoint, marking journeys or honoring the dead who never returned? Or were these jars part of a vast ritual landscape, one that connected the living and the spirit world, the earth and the heavens? Adding to the mystery is the violence of the recent past. During the 20th century, this area became one of the most heavily bombed regions in the world. Many jar sites remain dangerous even today, still littered with unexploded ordnance. The scars of modern conflict obscure the secrets of ancient times, and archaeologists tread carefully, both literally and figuratively, as they attempt to reconstruct what once was. Scientific analysis continues. Carbon dating of organic material found near the jars, soil studies, and 3D mapping all contribute pieces to a vast and fragmented puzzle. Yet, despite these efforts, the jars remain silent. No written records, no inscriptions, no images accompany them. It is as though the builders deliberately erased their own identity, leaving only these massive, mute sentinels to speak for them. Standing among them, one feels both awe and unease. The air is still, heavy with age. The wind moves through the openings of the jars, producing low tones that sound almost like whispers. Each jar faces a slightly different direction, as though arranged according to some forgotten celestial logic. Were they aligned with the stars, the solstices, or perhaps with the path of souls departing the mortal world? And so, the Plain of Jars remains what it has always been, a question carved in stone. Its builders are nameless, their purpose obscured by the centuries. The jars endure, weathering sun and monsoon, war and time itself. What were they meant to contain? Wine, water, or perhaps something less tangible? Could they be vessels not of the physical, but of memory, spirit, or belief? As the last light fades across the Laotian hills, the jars cast long shadows over the plain, each one a silent monument to a mystery that refuses to be forgotten. Deep in the humid jungles of Chiapas, Mexico, where thick canopies filter the sunlight into emerald beams, lies one of the most breathtaking remnants of the ancient Maya civilization, Palenque. Hidden for centuries beneath vines and soil, this lost city emerges like a vision from another world. A labyrinth of temples, courtyards, and carvings that whisper stories from a civilization that reached astonishing heights of knowledge, and then, mysteriously, fell silent. At dawn, mist rises over the rainforest, and the cry of howler monkeys echoes through the valley. The massive temple of the inscriptions stands solemn and proud, its stone steps rising from the earth like a sacred stairway to the heavens. Beneath it lies one of the most extraordinary discoveries ever made in the Americas, the tomb of King Pakal the Great, sealed for over a millennium. When Mexican archaeologist Alberto Ruiz Luillier uncovered the tomb in 1952, he expected to find a small chamber, perhaps offerings or ceremonial items. Instead, what he found rivaled the discoveries of Egypt. A long passage led deep into the pyramid, ending in a massive stone sarcophagus. Carved into its lid was an image that would ignite decades of debate. The carving depicts Pakal descending, or ascending, through a design of flames, celestial symbols, and what some describe as a strange mechanical contraption. His body appears suspended over a structure many have likened to a machine, complete with pedals, levers, and what resembles exhaust or propulsion beneath him. To most scholars, this is an intricate representation of the Maya cosmos. Pakal's journey from the world of the living into the underworld, Xibalba, before ascending to the heavens. But to others it seemed far stranger, almost technological. Was the ancient Maya king depicted in flight? Was this a symbolic ascent to the stars, or something far more literal? Mainstream archaeologists firmly ground their interpretations in cosmology and religion. The image, they argue, aligns perfectly with Maya beliefs about death and rebirth. Every element, from the world tree to the celestial bird above, reflects myths from the Popol Vuh, the sacred text of the Maya. Yet the precision and symmetry of the design have led others to wonder whether it encodes knowledge beyond myth, perhaps even scientific or astronomical insight. Indeed, the Maya were extraordinary astronomers. They calculated the solar year with astonishing accuracy, predicted eclipses, and mapped the movements of Venus. Their temples at Palenque are not randomly placed. They align with solstices, lunar cycles, and constellations. One cannot help but wonder, were they merely observers of the sky or participants in a deeper cosmic dialogue? The Temple of the Sun, the Temple of the Cross, and the Temple of the Foliated Cross form a triad that many believe mirrors celestial patterns. Others note that these structures encode mathematical ratios, suggesting an understanding of geometry and proportion far beyond what was thought possible for the era. How did they acquire such knowledge? Through generations of careful observation, or through contact with a civilization now lost to time? The deeper one looks into Palenque, the stranger it becomes. Inscriptions describe divine ancestry, rulers who claimed descent from gods who came from the stars, and myths that blur the line between history and the heavens. While often symbolic, this language appears across ancient cultures, from Sumer to Egypt and here in the Maya world. Could these shared myths reflect a forgotten chapter of human history? A time when the heavens and earth were closer than we remember? The mystery deepens when considering the city's engineering marvels. Palenque's architects designed complex water systems, aqueducts, subterranean channels, and what some believe to be the earliest pressurized water system in the ancient world. Beneath the Temple of the Inscriptions runs a tunnel through which water once flowed, aligned with Pakal's tomb above. Was this an offering to the gods, or part of a ritual meant to connect life, death, and nature in one continuous flow? Every corner of Palenque invites awe and uncertainty. Its hieroglyphs, only partly deciphered, reveal a civilization obsessed with cycles, cosmic, agricultural, and spiritual. Time was not linear to the Maya, but circular, endlessly repeating. To them, death was not an end, but a transformation, and perhaps this belief guided how they built their cities, to echo the structure of the universe itself. And yet, despite our advances in archaeology, much of Palenque remains unexcavated. The jungle still conceals many of its secrets, Beneath layers of soil and vegetation may lie more chambers, more inscriptions, perhaps even other tombs as grand as Pakal's. Standing before the temple complex today, surrounded by the hum of the rainforest, one feels a strange duality of presence and absence, brilliance and silence. The Maya left behind their words in stone, their temples aligned with the stars, their art alive with meaning. But the deeper message, the one they truly meant to leave, remains just beyond reach. What knowledge did they carry? What truth did Pakal's final journey represent? And if the Maya watched the heavens so closely, what was it they saw that made them build cities like Palenque as reflections of the cosmos itself? High in the rugged mountains of southeastern Turkey, where the clouds drift like slow-moving shadows across barren peaks, lies one of the most haunting monuments of the ancient world, Mount Nemrut. Rising more than 2,000 meters above sea level, its summit is crowned with colossal stone heads, silent, broken visages of gods, kings, and mythical beings. Their features, once proud and divine, now lie scattered across the rocky terrace as if some immense cosmic hand had toppled them long ago. In the thin mountain air, where the wind whispers through the ruins, time itself seems to have stopped. Mount Nemrut was built by a forgotten ruler, King Antiochus I Theos of Commagene, a small Hellenistic kingdom wedged between the great powers of Rome and Parthia in the 1st century BC. Around 62 BC, Antiochus ordered the construction of this monumental sanctuary, intended as both a royal tomb and a sacred place of worship. At its heart stood an artificial mound of crushed rock, nearly 50 meters high, hiding what was believed to be his burial chamber. Surrounding this mound were colossal seated statues, each over 9 meters tall, depicting Greek and Persian deities, Zeus, Apollo, Hercules, and others, alongside the king himself. It was a bold declaration of divine kingship, merging east and west into a vision of godlike authority. And yet, despite its grandeur, much about Mount Nemrut remains a mystery. The tomb of Antiochus has never been found. Archaeologists have probed the mound with radar and seismic scans, but no chamber has ever been discovered. Some suggest the burial lies deep within, inaccessible without destroying the monument itself. Others believe it was never built, that Antiochus's tomb was meant as a symbolic ascent to godhood rather than a literal resting place. Then there are the statues, massive stone figures whose heads lie detached from their bodies, scattered like relics of a fallen pantheon. Were they deliberately toppled, perhaps by earthquakes, or by iconoclasts centuries later? The region sits on a fault line, yet the arrangement of the heads seems oddly deliberate, aligned as though to mark something, or to watch something. Some researchers have noted the careful orientation of the terraces, one facing the rising sun, the other the setting sun, suggesting the site may have been designed as a kind of celestial observatory. Indeed, the ancient builders of Commagene were skilled astronomers. The alignment of the East Terrace's figures with the sunrise on specific dates hints at astronomical intent. A prominent relief, known as the Lion horoscope, shows the constellation Leo alongside the planets Jupiter, Mercury, and Mars, arranged as they would have appeared in the sky in 62 BC, the likely date of the monument's completion. But was this mere decoration or a coded message? Some believe it marks the birth or coronation of the king. Others see it as a cosmic chart, a record of divine union between earth and heaven. Over the centuries, speculation has grown wilder. Certain fringe theorists have proposed that Mount Nemrut was more than a royal sanctuary, that it may have concealed an ancient technology or knowledge lost to time. The artificial mound, made of millions of small stones, resembles not a tomb but a signal mound, a structure designed to be visible from great distances, perhaps even from the stars. A few have even suggested that the summit once served as a kind of beacon or energy point, its alignments resonating with celestial patterns known to civilizations far older than Kamajan. Such ideas may seem far-fetched, yet even the more grounded mysteries remain unsolved. No one knows how the massive stone blocks were hauled to the summit over steep, treacherous terrain in an age without modern machinery. The nearest quarries are miles away. Each statue, carved from a single piece of limestone, weighs several tons. What kind of devotion, or power, could have driven such an undertaking atop a mountain so remote and inhospitable? Today, visitors who climb Mount Nemrut before dawn often describe an eerie sensation as the first rays of sunlight strike the faces of the gods. The stone glows in shades of gold and crimson, and for a moment, the figures seem almost alive again, guardians of a forgotten kingdom, staring eternally toward horizons they once ruled. Perhaps that was Antiochus's intention all along, to build a throne between earth and sky, where the mortal and divine might meet. But beneath the calm silence of the summit, questions persist. Does his tomb truly lie within the mountain, sealed forever beneath the crushed stone? Or was the king's true legacy not his burial, but the enigma he left behind? A monument that defies time, explanation, and decay? As the winds sweep across the plateau, the mountain keeps its secrets. The gods of Kamajan watch in eternal stillness, their gaze fixed on a sun that rises and sets as it did 2,000 years ago. And one can't help but wonder, what did Antiochus know or believe that compelled him to build a monument meant to touch the heavens themselves? Deep in the mist-covered jungles of Veracruz, Mexico, where the cries of distant birds echo across the dense canopy and the air hangs heavy with the scent of earth and rain, lies a city of stone and shadow. El Tajín. Hidden for centuries beneath layers of vegetation, it rises now like a dream resurrected from the forest floor. Pyramid after pyramid, court after court, silent, symmetrical, and hauntingly precise. The most iconic among them, the Pyramid of the Niches, stands like a riddle carved into time itself. 7 terraces adorned with 365 shadowed recesses, one for each day of the solar year. Who built this city, and what knowledge did they possess? El Tajín is believed to have flourished between 600 and 1200 AD, a period of great cultural complexity in Mesoamerica. Its architects displayed a mastery of mathematics, astronomy, and ritual symbolism rivaling that of the Maya or Teotihuacan. Yet, unlike those civilizations, the builders of El Tajín left no written records, no stelae, no codices. Their language and identity remain unknown. Even the name El Tajín, derived from a Totonac word meaning city of the thunder god, was given long after the city had fallen silent. Archaeologists have mapped more than 150 buildings here, temples, palaces, and at least 17 ball courts, the largest concentration of such courts found anywhere in ancient Mesoamerica. Each was meticulously aligned, not just with the landscape, but perhaps with celestial movements. The city's geometry seems to mirror the heavens. Terraces reflect planetary cycles, while the niches of the Great Pyramid catch the sun in patterns that change with the seasons. When sunlight strikes its facade during equinox, shadows ripple across the niches in a cascading motion, as if the pyramid itself were breathing light. But beneath this precision lies enigma. Was El Tajín merely a ceremonial center or something more? An astronomical instrument carved in stone? Some researchers have suggested that the city functioned as a vast solar calendar, its structures marking solstices, equinoxes, and the agricultural rhythms of the year. Others see in its design echoes of deeper symbolism, an attempt to bridge the human and divine worlds through architecture, a sacred landscape aligned with forces unseen. There are also tales whispered among the local Totonac people, passed down through generations. They speak of powerful beings, storm deities who once descended upon the mountains, striking the earth with lightning, teaching the first builders the secrets of fire and time. Could these myths preserve distant memories of an encounter? Not divine, perhaps, but something that ancient eyes could only describe as such? As one walks through the ruins today, the silence feels alive. Moss creeps up stairways that once carried priests in feathered headdresses. The stones, perfectly fitted without mortar, still stand firm against centuries of rain and wind. No tool marks are visible on some blocks, as though the builders shaped them with methods long forgotten. Modern engineers have marveled at how the structures have withstood the region's frequent earthquakes, hinting at an understanding of balance and stress far beyond their era. And then, there is the question of disappearance. Around the 13th century, El Tajín was suddenly abandoned. There are no signs of warfare, no evidence of fire or destruction. It was as if the inhabitants simply walked away, leaving temples half-built, altars intact, and offerings untouched. The jungle reclaimed it swiftly, wrapping the city in green silence for nearly 700 years. Some scholars attribute its decline to shifting trade routes or climatic change, logical, measurable explanations. Yet others suggest something more elusive: a spiritual retreat, a deliberate withdrawal after the fulfillment of a cosmic cycle. Could El Tajin's builders have been guided by beliefs so deeply tied to celestial order that when a certain alignment or prophecy came to pass, their purpose here was complete? In modern times, researchers have uncovered further puzzles. Certain structures resonate with low-frequency sounds, tones that carry across the site like hidden harmonics. Was this intentional? Could rituals performed here have used sound to induce altered states, connecting worshippers to the rhythms of thunder and storm that defined the city's mythic identity? Even today, during festivals, the voladores, the flyers, perform a sacred ceremony near the ruins. 4 men climb a tall pole, then descend spinning through the air as flutes and drums echo below. A ritual said to honor the rain gods of ancient El Tajín. It is a living thread to a civilization whose beliefs may have once shaped their entire environment, architecture, astronomy, and myth intertwined. Standing before the Pyramid of the Niches at sunset, one feels an uncanny stillness. The forest hums. Shadows fill each niche until the structure becomes a vast, dark calendar counting down to something unseen. What did these builders understand about the movement of the heavens, about time itself? Were they watching the skies for the return of their thunder gods, or for something else entirely? El Tajín keeps its answers buried beneath stone and jungle. A city that measured the sun, worshipped the storm, and then vanished into silence. Across the rugged landscapes of Sardinia, where the Mediterranean winds sweep over hills dotted with olive trees and wild thyme, rise thousands of ancient stone towers, silent sentinels that have watched over the island for more than 3,000 years. They are known as Nuraghe. Their forms are massive yet elegant, great conical structures of basalt and granite, built without mortar. Their stones locked so precisely that they have endured millennia of storms, earthquakes, and time itself. From afar, they resemble fortresses, dark, brooding, almost timeless. Yet as one draws near, their scale feels different, more intimate, as if built not just for defense, but for ceremony. The largest among them, Nuraghe Su Nuraxi in Barumini, towers nearly 60 feet into the air, surrounded by a labyrinth of smaller towers and stone chambers. Its walls curve inward like the hull of an overturned ship, and within lies a spiral of stairways and corridors that lead into the earth, a design at once functional and strangely symbolic. Archaeologists date the Nuraghe to between 1800 and 500 BC, built by the mysterious Nuragic civilization, a people who left no written language, no known records of their beliefs, and whose origins remain uncertain. Yet more than 7,000 Nuraghe still stand across Sardinia today, suggesting an organized and deeply rooted culture. Some rise alone on remote hills, others form clusters connected by ancient pathways, hinting at a vast and interconnected network. What were they for? Mainstream theories describe the Nuraghe as fortresses or watchtowers, part of a defensive system against rival tribes or invaders. Their vantage points, overlooking fertile plains and river valleys, would have made perfect sense for such a purpose. Yet the argument falters when one considers their sheer number and variety. Some are found in isolated valleys with no strategic value. Others contain altars, wells, and circular rooms aligned to celestial events. Could their purpose have been more than military? Excavations at several Nuraghe sites have uncovered curious artifacts: bronze figurines depicting warriors, animals, and strange horned beings. In some chambers, offerings of grain and ceramics have been discovered beside sacred wells where sunlight touches the water only at specific times of year, perhaps during solstice or equinox. Was this an early fusion of architecture, astronomy, and ritual, a prehistoric science wrapped in spiritual meaning? The Nuragic people were not isolated. Evidence shows they traded with the Mycenaeans and the Phoenicians, cultures known for their maritime power and intricate belief systems. Some scholars propose that the Nuraghe might have been temples dedicated to celestial gods, perhaps connected to the movements of the stars or the sun. The precise alignments of certain towers seem deliberate, marking solar paths that repeat with each passing year. Others see in their circular designs a representation of cycles, of life, time, and eternity. But not all interpretations are so conventional. Local legends speak of giants, beings of immense strength who built the Nuraghe in a single night, lifting stones heavier than modern cranes could move. In Sardinia's folklore, they were called the Giganti di Monte Prama, the giants of Monte Prama, and remarkably, in 1974, archaeologists did uncover giant stone statues near Cabras, depicting warriors nearly 8 feet tall, carved in a style unlike anything else in the Mediterranean. Were these sculptures mere artistic exaggerations, or echoes of an ancient myth with a trace of truth? Some fringe researchers have even suggested that the Nuragic civilization may preserve memories of a lost maritime culture, one possibly connected to Plato's Atlantis, or to an older civilization that survived the great floods of prehistory. The idea is speculative, yet the scale of construction and the enduring mystery of the builders invite such comparisons. How did an island population of unknown size coordinate the building of thousands of these towers, each requiring immense labor and architectural knowledge? When night falls over Sardinia and the wind passes through the stone corridors, it is easy to feel a presence, the weight of forgotten time. Within the circular chambers, sound moves in strange ways. Whispers echo, footsteps multiply, and the acoustics seem almost deliberate, as though the builders understood the power of resonance. Could the Nuraghe have served as ceremonial chambers where sound and vibration played a role in ritual? And what of their disappearance? Around the 6th century BC, the Nuragic civilization faded into obscurity. There is no sign of violent collapse, no invading army to blame. The people simply merged into the waves of Mediterranean culture, absorbed perhaps by newer powers or transformed into something unrecognizable. Yet the towers remained, monuments to a vanished identity. Standing before one today, in the golden light of sunset, The stones seem to hum with memory. Each block carries the weight of hands that placed it there thousands of years ago. Hands guided by knowledge we still do not fully grasp. Were the Nuraghe fortresses, temples, observatories, or something else entirely? Perhaps the answer lies beneath the layers of stone and soil still unexplored. Or perhaps the truth, like the echo inside a Nuragic chamber, is meant to resonate, not to be solved, but to be felt. Beneath the sands of Abydos, one of ancient Egypt's most sacred cities, lies a structure unlike any other, a monument half hidden, half forgotten, and profoundly enigmatic. Its name is the Osireion, and even today it defies easy explanation. From above, it appears as a sunken temple carved deep into the earth, a subterranean chamber surrounded by a moat-like trench of still water. Massive granite blocks rise from the pool, smoothed and squared with astonishing precision. Some weigh over 100 tons, placed so tightly that a blade could not fit between them. The air here feels heavy, ancient, as if the stones remember a world older than Egypt's recorded history. The Osireion lies directly behind the great temple of Seti I, built during Egypt's 19th dynasty, around 1300 BC. Seti's temple, adorned with hieroglyphs and reliefs, celebrates the gods and pharaohs in grand artistry. Yet the Osireion, massive, stark, and geometric, feels entirely different. Its design seems more primitive, more megalithic, and, some say, far older. Archaeologists uncovered the site in 1902, buried beneath layers of sand. The British Egyptologist Flinders Petrie remarked that it appeared to belong to a much earlier age. The blocks of red granite and sandstone differ sharply from the limestone of Seti's temple above. There are no ornate carvings, no inscriptions boasting of royal glory. Only sheer, monolithic stone, built not for beauty, but for endurance. The question arises, why would Seti I construct his temple atop such a mysterious structure? Was the Osireion a deliberate homage to an ancient legacy, or did Seti simply build upon what was already there? Mainstream Egyptology identifies the Osireion as a symbolic tomb of Osiris, god of resurrection and the underworld. The subterranean setting, surrounded by water, mirrors the mythic landscape of the afterlife, where Osiris was reborn. Its central island and encircling moat could have represented that divine rebirth. But then, there are deeper questions, the ones the stones themselves seem to ask. Why does the Osireion's architecture resemble megalithic sites thousands of years older, like Stonehenge or the temples of Malta? Why are the granite blocks cut and placed in a style reminiscent of prehistoric stonework, not the refined engineering of the New Kingdom? Some researchers suggest the Osireion may have been an older structure, already ancient in Seti's time, a remnant from a civilization lost to memory. Geological studies show that its base lies several meters below the water table, an oddity if it were built in the New Kingdom era, when groundwater levels were lower. Could this mean the monument predates Egypt's arid age, built when the climate was wetter, perhaps thousands of years earlier? This theory, though controversial, finds echoes in ancient texts. The historian Manetho wrote of divine rulers and antediluvian kings who reigned before Egypt's first pharaohs. Plato spoke of an age long forgotten, a time of floods and cataclysms, when civilizations vanished beneath rising waters. Could the Osireion be a survivor from that remote epoch? A temple of the gods built by hands whose names history has erased? Others propose that the Osireion might encode ancient scientific or astronomical knowledge. Some point to its alignment with the stars, suggesting it may have served as a cosmic observatory or resonance chamber. The acoustics of its stone halls are extraordinary. A single voice can carry through the air like a chant in a cavern. Was this deliberate? Could sound have played a role in rituals once performed here? Then there are those who see in the Osireion a clue to something larger, part of a network of sacred sites aligned along invisible lines of energy stretching across the earth. This geomantic view links Abydos to other ancient centers, the Giza Plateau, Mount Sinai, even distant Mesopotamia, suggesting an understanding of planetary geometry far beyond what mainstream history accepts. And yet, for all its mystery, the Osireion remains silent. No inscriptions name its builder. No records explain its purpose. Even its construction techniques defy full understanding. How were those massive granite blocks transported from Aswan, hundreds of miles to the south, and placed so perfectly beneath ground level, without modern tools and without disturbing the temple above? Standing inside the Osireion today, one feels both awe and unease. Water laps quietly at the base of its stones, reflecting faint light from above. It feels like a temple meant not for the living, but for eternity, a gateway between worlds. If it truly was meant to honor Osiris, god of the underworld, perhaps that is fitting. But if it predates the pharaohs, if it was built by a forgotten culture who once walked this land before Egypt's rise, then the Osireion is more than a tomb. It is a message, a whisper from a vanished age, reminding us that the line between myth and history may be thinner than we think. Who first carved these stones? Who designed a monument that feels both ancient and eternal, and what secret lies beneath the water waiting to be understood? On the small island of Gozo, just off Malta's coast, the landscape opens to a plateau swept by Mediterranean winds. Here, amid the golden limestone and quiet fields, rise the Ggantija Temples, ancient megaliths that seem almost impossible for human hands to have built. The stones stand weathered and solemn, glowing softly under the sun, their presence as commanding as it is enigmatic. Ggantija, meaning place of the giants, is a name born from legend. Locals once believed these temples were raised by beings of immense strength, long before ordinary men walked the earth. And standing before them, it is not hard to see why. Some limestone blocks weigh over 50 tons, carved and placed more than 5,000 years ago, around 3,600 BC. Long before the pyramids or Stonehenge were conceived. Two massive temples sit side by side, enclosed by an oval wall of megaliths still standing over 6 meters high. Inside, curved apses branch from a central corridor, forming a layout reminiscent of a womb or sanctuary. Archaeologists believe rituals took place here, offerings, feasts, perhaps acts of fertility worship dedicated to a mother goddess, whose statues have been found nearby. Yet Ggantija defies simple explanation. The people who built it left no written records, no blueprints, no clue how such an immense project was achieved with Neolithic tools. How did a prehistoric community, without metal or wheels, move and raise stones of such staggering size? How did they shape and fit them so precisely that some seem to lock naturally together? The official answer points to ingenuity. Wooden rollers, ropes, and sheer communal effort. But standing before the Great Trilithon Gateway, one wonders if there was more to it than that. Excavations revealed burnt offerings, animal bones, and figurines depicting rotund feminine forms, symbols of life, fertility, and renewal. From these clues, the consensus holds that Ggantija was a temple of worship devoted to the cycles of nature, but others propose it served a dual role, spiritual and astronomical. The temple's design may align with the rising sun during solstices or equinoxes, linking its rituals to the rhythms of the heavens. Could the complex have been a place where sky and earth met in symbolic harmony? Still, questions linger about who these people truly were. The builders of Ggantija belonged to Malta's mysterious temple culture, a civilization that appeared suddenly, flourished for centuries, and then vanished around 2500 BC. What became of them? Did they succumb to famine, disease, or migration? Or did something deeper, perhaps environmental catastrophe, erase their way of life? Legends tell of a giantess named Sunsuna, said to have carried the great stones on her head while nursing a child. The story sounds mythical, yet reveals how the Maltese perceived these temples, not merely as human creations, but as works of superhuman origin. In recent decades, some researchers have revived this sense of wonder, suggesting Ggantija's builders possessed forgotten knowledge, an understanding of sound, balance, or energy that allowed them to move stone with uncanny ease. A few even claim the site emits subtle magnetic anomalies, hinting at an awareness of natural forces beyond what modern archaeology acknowledges. Others note symbolic parallels between Ggantija and ancient sites half a world away, in Anatolia, Peru, and the British Isles. Could these distant cultures, separated by oceans and millennia, have shared a common architectural vision, or inherited fragments of a knowledge older than civilization itself? And then there is the question of intent. The design of Ggantija, with its twin temples, suggests duality, life and death, earth and sky, feminine and masculine. The altars, the curves, the sacred enclosures all evoke cycles of creation and transformation. Was this a temple to a goddess, or to something greater, something cosmic? Today, standing among the stones, one hears little but the whisper of wind through the grass and the faint hum of the sea beyond the cliffs. Yet the silence feels ancient, as if the land still remembers the chants and footsteps of those who once gathered here. The Ggantija temples remind us that human history may not be as linear as we think, that somewhere in the deep recesses of time, people, or something more than people, knew how to shape the world in ways we are only beginning to rediscover. Were these truly the works of early farmers seeking to honor fertility and harvest, or the remnants of a civilization that reached far beyond its age? The stones keep their secret well, watching over the island as they have for millennia, and in their silent endurance, they whisper a question that has haunted archaeologists and dreamers alike. Who were the giants that built Ggantija? And what did they know that we have long forgotten? Beneath the quiet skies of Japan, in the region of Osaka Prefecture, lie immense grass-covered mounds shaped like keys, massive and silent monuments from an age long past. From above, they appear almost geometric in their precision, a perfect circle joined to a tapering rectangle, surrounded by wide moats that still glimmer faintly beneath the morning mist. These are the Kofun, ancient burial mounds constructed between the 3rd and 7th centuries BC, whose scale and mystery continue to baffle archaeologists to this day. At first glance, the Kofun seem like simple earthen tombs, but their true size is staggering. The Daisenryo Kofun, believed to be the resting place of Emperor Nintoku, stretches more than 1,500 feet in length, larger than the Great Pyramid of Giza and covering nearly 80 acres of land. Its symmetrical design, surrounded by 3 moats and once adorned with thousands of clay figures known as haniwa, suggests a civilization with immense organizational power and technical mastery. Yet the more we learn about these mounds, the more questions arise. What kind of society could build such enormous and mathematically precise structures? Long before the influence of large-scale centralized governments in Japan was fully formed? And perhaps even more puzzling, why were they shaped like keys? Mainstream archaeology tells us the Kofun were the burial sites of Japan's early elite, chieftains and emperors who ruled during a time when the Yamato clan was consolidating power. These monumental tombs, surrounded by moats and protected by sacred boundaries, symbolized divine authority and the connection between rulers and gods. Excavations of smaller mounds have revealed bronze mirrors, iron weapons, armor, and exotic ornaments, suggesting far-reaching trade networks and an early form of social hierarchy. But despite these findings, access to the largest Kofun, such as the Daisenryo, remains strictly forbidden. Declared the property of Japan's imperial household, they are treated not as archaeological sites, but as sacred royal tombs. No excavations are permitted, no ground-penetrating radar surveys, no research beyond the perimeter. The secrets beneath their earthen layers remain sealed. This restriction has only deepened the mystery. Some scholars wonder what undiscovered relics or records of Japan's earliest rulers might lie buried within. Others suspect that these tombs could reveal far older origins than the accepted 3rd century BC timeline. Could the Kofun have been built atop even earlier sacred sites, dating to a prehistoric culture that once inhabited these islands? Curiously, the keyhole shape of the Kofun finds no direct parallel elsewhere in ancient architecture. Some interpret it symbolically, the circular end representing the heavens and the rectangular section symbolizing the earth, uniting divine and mortal realms. Others see in it a stylized mirror, perhaps a reflection of the sacred Yata no Kagami, one of Japan's imperial regalia said to embody truth. But a more speculative theory suggests the design was meant to be viewed from above. Could these mounds have been constructed with aerial observation in mind? From ground level, their shape is imperceptible, yet from the sky, or even a nearby hill, the design becomes unmistakable. Ancient people would have had no means to see such precision from above, unless, as some have provocatively suggested, they possessed knowledge or technology now lost to history. Adding to the intrigue are the haniwa, hollow clay figures once arranged along the ridges and slopes of the mounds. These sculptures depict warriors, animals, houses, and even abstract forms whose meaning remains debated. Were they guardians meant to protect the dead? Or markers encoding cosmological information, like the alignments found in megalithic sites across the world? Some researchers have noticed that the placement of certain Kofun aligns with the solstices, the cardinal directions, or the course of nearby rivers, patterns that might not be accidental. Beyond their architectural mystery, the Kofun mark the emergence of Japan's first unified identity, a time when myth, ritual, and power intertwined. The emperors of later centuries traced their divine lineage back to these rulers, linking themselves to the sun goddess Amaterasu. Yet we have almost no written record from this formative era. The chronicles that mention it, the Kojiki and Nihon Shoki, were written centuries later, blending legend and politics in equal measure. So we are left to wonder, who truly lies within the largest of these mounds? Were they rulers of a proto-empire, or representatives of something even older? Perhaps a forgotten people whose legacy was absorbed into later Japanese myth? From the air, the Kofun still resemble immense keys scattered across the landscape, locked gates to a distant past. And like any key, they invite a haunting question. What doors do they open? What truths about the dawn of Japanese civilization might they still conceal beneath their grassy forms, waiting for the day we are allowed to look inside? In the arid plains of southwestern Iran, where the winds sweep across an ancient desert landscape, a massive stepped structure rises from the earth like the fossilized heart of a forgotten civilization. Its baked mud bricks glow gold under the sun, and its terraces ascend in geometric layers, each level drawing the eye upward to what once was a towering shrine to the gods. This is Choga Zanbil, one of the best preserved ziggurats in the world, and a monument that still guards secrets older than most of recorded history. Built around 1250 BC by the Elamite king Untash-Naparisha, Choga Zanbil was dedicated to Inshushinak, the chief deity of the Elamite pantheon. The ziggurat once stood over 170 feet high, dominating the sacred city of Dur-Untash, a royal and religious complex surrounded by walls and temples. From above, it resembles a great square pyramid, carefully aligned with the cardinal directions, its layers symbolizing a bridge between earth and the divine. Yet when one stands before it today, the silence is almost overwhelming. The wind whistles through the crumbling stairways and hollow corridors, and the air seems to carry echoes of ancient chants that once rose toward the heavens. There is a sense, not of ruin, but of presence. Something timeless lingers here, as if the gods it was built for never truly departed. Mainstream archaeologists see Choga Zanbil as a pinnacle of Elamite engineering and religious devotion. It was constructed using millions of mud bricks, some stamped with inscriptions naming the king, others left unmarked, as if destined for higher, more sacred levels. Water was channeled from the nearby Des River through an elaborate system of underground conduits, evidence of a civilization advanced in both engineering and urban planning. And yet, the purpose of certain features remains elusive. Why, for example, was this grand structure built so far from other major Elamite centers like Susa? Some scholars suggest it was meant to serve as a new spiritual capital, a city of the gods, where divine power could be concentrated and renewed. Others suspect a more mysterious motive, that the site was chosen because of its alignment with celestial phenomena. Indeed, when viewed from above, the ziggurat's design appears to follow an intentional geometric order. Some researchers have noted that its orientation might relate to the movement of the sun at solstices or the rising of particular stars, significant to ancient Elamite cosmology. Could Choga Zanbil have served not only as a temple, but also as a cosmic calendar, tracking time through the heavens? This theory gains weight when one considers the ziggurat's form itself. Like the Mesopotamian temples of Ur and Babylon, it embodies a sacred ascent, a ladder between man and God. But at Choga Zanbil, this architectural symbolism feels even more pronounced. Each terrace may have represented one of the realms between the underworld and the sky. To climb its steps was to traverse creation itself, a physical act of worship through elevation. Still, some aspects defy easy explanation. Archaeologists have discovered glazed bricks colored in turquoise and deep blue, a technique advanced for its era and rare in Elamite architecture. What significance did these colors hold? Were they symbolic of the sky, the afterlife, or something more abstract, perhaps a resonance with unseen energies or celestial forces? And then there is the question of its sudden abandonment. The city of Dur-Untash was never completed. Work seems to have halted abruptly, as though the builders simply walked away. Did war or invasion bring the project to an end? Or was there something deeper, a spiritual reason, perhaps an omen, that compelled them to stop? Local legends whisper that the ziggurat fell out of favor when its sacred power was exhausted, or when its god turned silent. Others speak of the ground itself rejecting human ambition, that something beneath the structure was disturbed, something not meant to be touched. When French archaeologists uncovered the site in the 20th century, they found that its mud brick heart was remarkably preserved, almost as if sealed deliberately. Some of the outer levels had crumbled under time and weather, but the core remained intact, protecting what lay within. Even now, the inner sanctum has not been fully explored. What might still rest inside those layers of earth and clay, tablets, relics, or perhaps symbols of a forgotten theology? Choga Zanbil stands today as a bridge between worlds, between the known and the unknown, the visible and the divine. The sun sets over its terraces, casting long shadows that seem to stretch into another time. One cannot help but wonder, what guided the hands that shaped this sacred mountain of brick and dust? Was it faith alone, or knowledge now lost to us. Perhaps beneath its silent walls, beneath centuries of sand and mystery, lies a clue not only to the Elamites, but to something even older, an understanding of the cosmos that ancient people once possessed, and that we have only begun to rediscover. In the quiet countryside of southern Spain, near the town of Trigueros in Andalusia, a gentle rise in the landscape conceals one of Europe's most mysterious ancient monuments. To the casual observer, it might appear as just another grassy mound, shaped by time and wind. But beneath this humble hill lies Dolmen de Soto, a subterranean passage tomb that has guarded its secrets for nearly 5,000 years. As the morning sun breaks over the plains of Huelva, its golden light glides across the dolmen's narrow entrance, lined with towering megalithic stones. Step inside, and the air changes. It grows cooler, stiller, almost reverent. The faint scent of earth and age fills the passageway, leading deeper into darkness, toward a circular chamber at its heart. Here, surrounded by ancient carvings, one senses the weight of millennia pressing in from every side. The Dolmen de Soto, dated to around 3000 to 2500 BC, belongs to the Neolithic tradition of megalithic tombs scattered across Western Europe. Yet even among them, it stands apart. At nearly 21 meters long, with 39 upright stones supporting immense capstones, it is one of the largest in the Iberian Peninsula and one of the most elaborately decorated. The carvings, daggers, axes, and enigmatic human figures appear etched with purpose, though their meaning remains uncertain. Were they symbols of protection, ritual tools, or a coded language from a world now lost to time? Discovered in 1922 by a farmer who noticed an odd hollow sound beneath his field, the monument revealed a burial chamber containing human remains and grave goods. Its alignment, facing precisely east, immediately drew attention. During the spring and autumn equinoxes, sunlight travels the length of the passage, illuminating the inner chamber in a brief golden glow. Such astronomical precision suggests an understanding of the heavens far beyond what we might expect from a society of farmers and herders. Could this have been intentional? Was Dolmen de Soto designed not merely as a tomb, but as a celestial observatory, a bridge between life, death, and the cosmos? Mainstream archaeologists view the site as a communal burial place, perhaps for local elites or spiritual leaders. The engravings might represent weapons buried alongside the dead or serve as symbolic guardians of the afterlife. But other questions persist. Why does the passage subtly curve, unlike most dolmens? Why do the carvings grow more complex the deeper one moves inside, as if following a ritual progression toward the sacred? Some believe the curvature mirrors the sun's path across the sky, or the soul's journey into another world. Others suggest it reflects a forgotten practice blending astronomy, geometry, and spirituality into one unified system of belief. A few researchers propose that Dolmen de Soto's precision and craftsmanship point to knowledge inherited from an earlier advanced culture, one that predated known Neolithic civilizations. They compare it to structures in Brittany, Ireland, and the British Isles, where megalithic sites share strikingly similar alignments and techniques. Could these scattered monuments be remnants of a connected world, a shared spiritual or scientific tradition buried beneath time? Then there are the stones themselves. Some megaliths weigh several tons, yet were transported and set in place without metal tools or wheels. How did prehistoric builders move them across Andalusia's uneven terrain? Traditional explanations cite wooden rollers, ropes, and manpower, but when one stands within the chamber and gazes up at the perfectly balanced capstones, it's hard not to feel awe. These people were not primitive. They were master builders guided by purpose, and perhaps by knowledge that still escapes us. Even the art within the dolmen raises questions. The dagger engravings resemble early Bronze Age weaponry, suggesting the site may have been reused or reinterpreted by later cultures. Who were these later visitors, and what compelled them to return to a tomb built thousands of years before their time? Was it reverence for the ancestors, or something else that lingered here long after the builders were gone? Today, when sunlight enters the passage on the equinox, it still illuminates the chamber just as it did millennia ago. The beam of light cuts through the darkness like a whisper from another age, igniting the carvings in a fleeting blaze before fading once more into shadow. It is a spectacle that connects the present to the ancient, the living to the dead, and the earth to the sky. And as the day ends and the tomb returns to silence, one cannot help but wonder, what compelled these ancient hands to carve, align, and build with such devotion? Was it faith in a world beyond the stars, or knowledge of one that came before? The coastal desert of Peru stretches endlessly under a pale, unyielding sun. Wind moves across the parched earth, carrying whispers of a past older than the Inca, older even than the pyramids of Egypt. Here, where the Soup River cuts through an arid landscape, rise the silent remnants of one of the world's most ancient and enigmatic cities, Caral. From a distance, it appears almost as a mirage. 6 massive pyramidal mounds, sunken circular plazas, and sprawling stone platforms, all built more than 5,000 years ago. At dawn, the city seems to awaken from a long sleep. The first light brushes across the stone steps of the main pyramid, revealing geometric perfection and symmetry that speak of order and knowledge. Standing at its summit, one looks out over a city frozen in time, its layout precisely planned, its proportions almost mathematical. Around it, smaller pyramids, residential complexes, and ceremonial spaces stretch in harmonious alignment, as if designed according to principles that went beyond mere function, perhaps reflecting cosmic or spiritual order. Caral, also known as Sacred City of Caral Soup, is dated to around 2600 BC, making it one of the earliest known urban centers in the Americas. Long before the rise of the Maya or the Inca, this city flourished with astonishing sophistication. Archaeologists discovered musical instruments made of bone, quipus, knotted cords possibly used for record-keeping, and intricate woven textiles. Yet, curiously, there are no signs of warfare, no weapons, no defensive walls. This was a civilization built on peace, trade, and the rhythm of ritual. But how could such complexity emerge so early and in such isolation? What knowledge guided these people, who thrived in a desert where rain was scarce and the soil unforgiving? Mainstream theories describe Caral as the cradle of the Norte Chico civilization, a society sustained by fishing along the Pacific coast and agriculture along the river valleys. They traded cotton for dried fish, created irrigation canals, and established long-distance exchange networks reaching hundreds of kilometers. To scholars, Caral represents the dawn of organized society in the New World, a place where religion, governance, and science took their first unified form. And yet, as researchers dig deeper, the mystery only deepens. The city's monumental architecture suggests a level of planning and engineering far beyond what was thought possible for the time. The massive pyramids were constructed using stone and earth-filled baskets, stacked with precision and designed to withstand earthquakes, an early understanding of seismic forces. How did a culture with no known writing, metal tools, or wheels achieve such engineering mastery? Equally intriguing is the city's alignment. Some structures appear to be oriented toward the sun's position during solstices and equinoxes, while others line up with distant mountain peaks. Were these alignments coincidental, or deliberate attempts to map celestial cycles? If so, Caral's builders may have possessed astronomical knowledge comparable to that of ancient Egypt or Mesopotamia. And then there is the question of Caral's purpose. Excavations suggest it was not merely a settlement but a ceremonial center, a place of pilgrimage and ritual. Fires once burned in its altars. Flutes made from pelican and condor bones once played haunting melodies across its plazas. Some believe the pyramids were temples dedicated to deities of water and fertility, vital forces in a fragile ecosystem. Others see the entire city as a reflection of cosmology itself, a model of the universe rendered in stone. But beyond these accepted interpretations lie more speculative ideas. Some fringe theorists have noted striking similarities between Caral's architectural style and other ancient sites across the world: pyramidal forms, sacred plazas, astronomical orientations. They wonder, could these be remnants of a once global culture that shared a unified vision of the cosmos? Or is the resemblance merely a coincidence born from humanity's shared instinct to connect Earth with sky? Adding to the mystery, no evidence has yet revealed the true name of this city or the people who built it. Caral is a modern designation. Whatever the inhabitants called it, and themselves, has been lost. No royal tombs have been found, no inscriptions, no depictions of rulers or conquests. It is as though the civilization deliberately erased its individual identities, leaving behind only collective monuments. Perhaps that is part of its message: a society that valued harmony over domination, knowledge over war, and faith over power. Yet the question remains: how did it vanish? Climate change, shifting river patterns, or societal decline have all been suggested. Still, there are signs the people of Caral did not perish suddenly, but rather dispersed quietly, their knowledge carried elsewhere. As the sun sets over the Soup Valley, the ancient city glows with an amber hue. The wind stirs across the empty plazas and the surrounding desert falls silent again. Beneath layers of sand and time, countless stories remain untold. Stories of a people who measured the stars, honored the earth, and built monuments that would outlast memory itself. And so, Caral endures, its pyramids rising from the dust, whispering questions that have no answers. Was this truly the first civilization of the Americas, or merely the last surviving fragment of something even older, something the world has long since forgotten? Plateau. Yet from above, the true shape reveals itself: a massive labyrinth of concentric circles, perfectly arranged in the middle of the Golan Heights of Palestine. This is Hypogeum el-Hiri, sometimes called the Wheel of Spirits, a name that captures both its geometry and its mystery. Formed from over 40,000 basalt stones, its outer ring stretches nearly 520 feet across, enclosing smaller circles that spiral inward toward a central mound. Silent and cold beneath the vast sky, the monument seems less like the work of farmers or nomads, and more like a message from a forgotten civilization. No one knows who built it. Radiocarbon dating of nearby settlements suggests an age between 3000 and 2700 BC, roughly the same era as Stonehenge. But unlike Stonehenge, Hypogeum el-Hiri offers no clear alignment with solstices or celestial markers, at least none that we can fully decode. Its walls are too low for fortifications, too narrow for habitation, and its construction, requiring tens of thousands of tons of stone moved across a barren landscape, demanded extraordinary effort. Archaeologists propose that it was a ritual center, a gathering place for ceremonies tied to death or the stars. The central cairn, rising nearly 15 feet, once contained a burial chamber. When excavated, however, it yielded no complete remains, only fragments of bone, pottery, and traces of fire. Was the burial looted? Or was it symbolic from the start? A tomb not for a body, but for a belief. As the winds whisper through the ancient stones, the structure seems to pulse with an eerie sense of design. Some researchers noticed that gaps between the rings align with the sunrise on the summer solstice, hinting at an astronomical purpose. Others point to its resemblance to megalithic observatories in Europe and Asia, suggesting that its builders may have tracked time or mapped the heavens. But even if that were true, what civilization in this remote corner of the ancient Near East possessed such knowledge? The surrounding basalt desert, known as the Hauran, is a harsh, lonely place. Its dark volcanic rock absorbs the heat of the day and radiates it at night, giving the land an otherworldly glow. Here, thousands of smaller stone circles and cairns lie scattered for miles, each marking something unknown. Some archaeologists believe they represent a landscape of the dead, a sprawling necropolis from a prehistoric culture whose rituals centered on the cycles of life and the movement of the stars. Others see something far older and stranger. To them, Hypogeum el-Hiri may predate recorded history entirely. Its astronomical precision and massive scale, they argue, could indicate a society far more advanced than we assume existed in 3000 BC. Fringe researchers even suggest it may be the remnant of an antediluvian civilization, one that vanished before the great flood stories of Mesopotamian and biblical traditions. Such theories are dismissed by mainstream archaeology, yet the details still puzzle even the cautious. The site's layout, for instance, does not match Canaanite or early Semitic cultures, nor does it resemble Neolithic villages or Bronze Age temples nearby. It stands apart, neither city nor shrine, neither tomb nor fortress. And then there is the name itself, Hypogeum el-Hiri, the heap of the wildcat, or the stones of the giants. Local legends speak of spirits that haunt the circles, of voices on the wind, of shepherds who wander too close and lose their way. Some say it was built by giants. Others whisper it was a portal, a place where heaven and earth briefly touched. In modern times, satellite imagery has only deepened the mystery. From the sky, Hypogeum el-Hiri looks almost mathematical, its rings precise, its geometry deliberate, as though meant to be seen from above. But by whom? There is no nearby vantage point that would have allowed ancient builders to view the full pattern. Did they somehow map it by memory or intuition? Or could the shape have been designed for an audience beyond human eyes? Celestial, perhaps, or spiritual? Every attempt to define Hypogeum el-Hiri leads back to uncertainty. Why build such a vast monument in a place so empty? Why use so much labor for something offering no shelter, no wealth, no defense? Was it a temple for sky worshippers, a calendar for priests, or a message to the unknown? As the sun sets over the plateau, shadows creep across the ancient rings, turning the stones black against the fading light. The silence grows thick, almost sentient, as if the monument itself remembers what we have forgotten. Even today, thousands of years later, Hypogeum el-Hiri defies understanding. It remains, like so many megaliths scattered across the world, a riddle carved into the earth, waiting for someone to listen. Perhaps the meaning lies buried beneath the stones, or perhaps, as some believe, it was never meant to be found at all. And so, the mystery endures, quietly, eternally, beneath the restless winds of the Golan Heights, high in the mist-covered mountains of northern Colombia, where thick jungles breathe ancient secrets and rivers carve their paths through emerald canyons, lies a city that time forgot. Hidden for centuries beneath layers of vegetation, it clings to the steep slopes of the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta, a place both breathtaking and forbidding. The locals call it Tajín, though the world knows it as Ciudad Perdida, the lost city. To reach it, one must trek for days through dense rainforest, wade across cold mountain streams, and climb more than 1,200 stone steps slick with moss. When the final turn reveals the terraced platforms and spiraling stone paths, there is a sense of stepping through a veil into a world that should not have survived this long. Mist drifts across the ruins, and the faint hum of insects fills the silence where once an entire civilization thrived. Archaeologists believe Ciudad Perdida was founded around 800 BC, making it more than 6 centuries older than Machu Picchu. Built by the Tairona people, it was once a powerful urban center, connected by stone paths to smaller villages throughout the Sierra. Its terraces, over 250 in total, rise in elegant steps along the mountainside, each one carved with precision. Circular platforms mark where wooden and thatched structures once stood, homes for priests, chiefs, and astronomers. From here, the Tairona watched the stars, studied the weather, and cultivated crops that sustained a vibrant, deeply spiritual society. But then, around the 15th century, the city was suddenly abandoned. No war, no fire, no record of catastrophe. The people simply vanished into the jungle. Over time, nature reclaimed their world. Trees rooted through stone walls, vines draped over stairways, and the jungle grew so thick that even local tribes lost track of its existence. For nearly 400 years, Ciudad Perdida remained hidden from the outside world. Its rediscovery came by chance. In 1972, a group of treasure hunters stumbled upon the site while following rumors of gold buried in the mountains. They found ancient ceramic jars, intricate jewelry, and golden figurines, artifacts of immense beauty and mystery. Word spread quickly, and looters flooded the area. Only years later did archaeologists arrive to protect and study what was left. By then, the city had earned its haunting name, the Lost City. Yet even with decades of research, many questions remain unanswered. Why did the Tairona build such a monumental city in a place so remote, so difficult to reach? The architecture is unlike anything else in the region. The terraces are not random. They follow the mountain's contours with almost mathematical precision, preventing erosion even after centuries of rain. Some of the circular plazas align with astronomical events, hinting at an advanced understanding of the cosmos. Could Ciudad Perdida have been more than just a political or economic center? Was it perhaps a sacred observatory or a ceremonial heart of a civilization obsessed with balance between heaven and earth? The Tairona viewed the world as a web of spiritual connections between rivers, stars, and mountains. In their cosmology, every element of the landscape was alive, sacred, and bound by invisible threads. Maybe the city's geometry was meant to mirror the order of the cosmos itself. But deeper mysteries persist. Legends among the Kogi, direct descendants of the Tairona, tell of a time before time, when their ancestors built great stone cities guided by beings from the stars. To them, Ciudad Perdida was not merely a home, it was the navel of the world, a point of creation where the spiritual and physical realms intertwined. The Kogi still visit the ruins in secret ceremonies, leaving offerings of quartz, feathers, and cocoa leaves. They say the city must remain hidden, for it holds the memory of the world before the Great Imbalance began. Some researchers have speculated that the Tairona's disappearance might have been linked to climate change, disease, or the arrival of Spanish colonizers on the Caribbean coast. Yet no direct evidence ties their sudden exodus to any single cause. Others whisper of something older, of shifting energies, or cycles that forced the people to abandon the sacred mountain when the world's balance was broken. Satellite mapping has since revealed more stone formations buried under the jungle canopy, suggesting that Ciudad Perdida may be only a fraction of a vast network of settlements still undiscovered. Could there be more lost cities beneath the green expanse? More clues to a civilization that lived in harmony with nature and then vanished without a trace? Standing on the upper terraces at dawn, one can feel the enormity of the mystery. The jungle hums with unseen life. Mist curls over the stones like ancient breath. And in that quiet, one begins to wonder, was Ciudad Perdida really lost? Or was it meant to stay hidden, protected from those who might forget the lessons it was built to teach? Perhaps, as the Kogi believe, some places are not meant to be found until humanity is ready to understand them. The mountain keeps its secrets. The stones remember. And somewhere beneath the canopy, the past still waits, patiently, silently, for us to listen. The desert of northern Peru stretches out in rippling tones of ochre and gold. Between the foothills of the Andes and the Pacific coast lies a dry valley where the wind moves softly across sand and stone. It is here, in the Chasma Valley, that an ancient silence guards one of humanity's oldest enigmas, Sechin Bajo. From above, the site seems like little more than a patchwork of low walls and eroded mounds. But step closer, and the earth reveals its secrets. Vast stone platforms, sunken plazas, and walls etched with human faces, some calm, others twisted in agony. Beneath the blazing sun, the lines between art, architecture, and ritual blur. The stones tell stories, though in a language no one remembers. Archaeologists date Sechin Bajo to around 3,500 BC, making it one of the oldest known ceremonial complexes in the Americas, older even than Egypt's pyramids. Yet its builders remain anonymous. They left no written record, no clear lineage to later civilizations. And while neighboring sites like Caral have offered glimpses of early Andean urban life, Sechin Bajo stands apart. Older, more enigmatic, and hauntingly deliberate in its design. Excavations uncovered circular plazas sunk into the desert floor, bordered by massive stone walls. In the center of one lies a platform where rituals were likely performed. Some believe these ceremonies were tied to agricultural cycles or the movement of the sun. But the carvings that line the walls complicate the story. The stones depict human figures, warriors, priests, and perhaps victims. Faces grimace in pain, bodies are decapitated, and weapons appear in rhythmic sequence. What kind of society immortalized such scenes? Was this myth, cosmic order, or something darker, a memory of conflict, of sacrifice meant to appease unseen forces? As researchers studied the site, they discovered Sechin Bajo was not built all at once. Layers of construction stretch across millennia, each new phase rising upon the ruins of the last. The earliest layer, buried beneath later structures, dates back nearly 5,500 years, making it one of the oldest ceremonial sites in the world. This gradual layering raises questions. Was Sechin Bajo continuously inhabited by the same people, or a sacred place rebuilt by generations, each inheriting a legacy they could not fully understand? If so, what drew them here? Why this barren valley, far from fertile plains and rivers? One theory suggests the region once held a more temperate climate, a cradle of early Andean culture nourished by seasonal floods from the nearby Sechin River. Others believe the site's alignment with the solstices reveals cosmic purpose. Could Sechin Bajo have been an ancient observatory, tracking celestial patterns to guide early rituals? But not all explanations are so grounded. Local legends whisper of a people before time, builders who came from the sea, taught the ancestors to shape stone, then vanished. The figures carved into Sechin's walls, with elongated faces and intricate headdresses, have fueled comparisons to distant ancient sites, from Mesopotamia to the Eastern Mediterranean. The resemblances are tenuous, yet they stir an unsettling question. How could civilizations separated by oceans and millennia produce such similar symbols? Some fringe researchers go further, suggesting Sechin Bajo preserves memories of a pre-cataclysmic world, a civilization erased by a great flood or seismic event, whose survivors rebuilt what little they remembered of their sacred geometry. They point to the precision of the plazas, the astronomical alignments, and the site's sheer antiquity as evidence of knowledge older than any known culture of the Americas. Mainstream scholars, of course, approach such claims cautiously. Yet even within accepted archaeology, Sechin Bajo challenges assumptions about when and how complex societies emerged. It defies the timeline that places monumental architecture as a product of later civilizations. Here, in the Peruvian desert, thousands of years before the rise of the Inca or Maya, people gathered to build in stone, coordinated, intentional, and deeply symbolic. Standing among the ruins today, the air feels heavy with echoes. The desert wind moves through the empty plazas, carrying the sound of nothingness, and yet it feels alive, as if the earth remembers the footsteps of those who once walked here. The carvings still stare outward, their expressions unchanged by time, their meaning just out of reach. What were they trying to tell us? Was Sechin Bajo a place of worship, of power, of warning? Or was it something older still, a message carved in stone for future generations who would one day rediscover it, long after the builders had faded into myth? No one can say for certain. The desert guards its stories well, and as the sun sets over the Chasma Valley, shadows lengthen across the ancient walls, tracing patterns that have not changed for 5,000 years. Perhaps somewhere beneath the sand, the truth still waits, patient, buried, and eternal. Across the golden expanse of the Algerian highlands, where the desert begins to swallow the horizon, lies a city lost to time. At first glance, Timgad appears as a perfect grid of ruins, orderly, silent, and strangely modern. Rows of stone columns cast long shadows in the late afternoon light, forming patterns that mirror the mathematical precision of its design. Once a bustling Roman outpost, now only the whispers of the wind move through its deserted streets. Founded around 100 AD by Emperor Trajan, Timgad was meant to be a vision of Roman civilization in North Africa, a city born from order and imperial ambition. It was laid out with remarkable symmetry, following a perfect grid of streets that intersected at right angles. From above, it resembles a chessboard of stone, an unnerving testament to how the Romans sought to impose their will upon the desert itself. But beneath this symmetry lies a deeper enigma. Why was this meticulously planned city abandoned so suddenly? And what stories are still buried beneath its sun-baked ruins? Walking through the remains, the grandeur of the city becomes unmistakable. The Arch of Trajan still rises proudly at the western gate, its massive stones weathered but intact. Beyond it, one can trace colonnaded streets leading toward the Forum, where once stood temples, baths, libraries, and theaters. Inscriptions on fallen stones still bear Latin words of civic pride, but their meanings, like their builders, have faded into dust. Archaeologists have long marveled at how well-preserved Timgad is, so perfect in fact that it has been called the Pompeii of Africa. Yet unlike Pompeii, Timgad was not buried by disaster. It was swallowed by time and sand. The desert crept over its walls, sealing it in silence for more than 1,000 years until rediscovered by explorers in the 19th century. But what caused its abandonment? Some records suggest Berber invasions in the 5th century, as Rome's empire crumbled. Others hint at a gradual decline, trade routes shifting, water drying, citizens drifting away. Yet excavations have uncovered something stranger. Evidence that parts of the city were reoccupied centuries later, long after it was presumed dead. Who returned to this forgotten place, and why? Among the ruins, inscriptions tell of both devotion and disillusionment. One haunting phrase discovered on a Roman tablet reads, "I have lived, I have traveled, I have enjoyed everything, and I have done nothing." Was it a lament, a reflection, or the final words of a culture realizing its own impermanence? The deeper one looks, the more mysterious Timgad becomes. Beneath its orderly streets lie earlier structures, walls and foundations that may predate Roman construction. Some researchers believe Trajan's architects built atop an older settlement with indigenous origins. If so, the Roman city may have been less a creation from nothing and more a continuation of a forgotten past. Even the city's orientation raises questions. The main streets, the Cardo and Decumanus, align not with geography but with the sunrise on a specific day, possibly Trajan's birthday or the city's founding. Others note that this alignment corresponds to astronomical positions known only to those with advanced celestial knowledge. Was it symbolic or rooted in deeper, perhaps spiritual intent? Some fringe theories claim Timgad's design hides sacred geometry, encoding harmony found in ancient temples across the Mediterranean. Its proportions reflect mathematical constants seen in Roman, Greek, and Egyptian architecture. Coincidence, or evidence that Timgad was more than a frontier city, a ceremonial center built upon cosmic principles known to a select few? Others suggest its perfection itself might have been its downfall. A city built to embody absolute order could not adapt to the chaos of desert life. When the empire that sustained it collapsed, its geometric beauty became meaningless. Sand and wind reclaimed it, indifferent to the brilliance of its design. Today, as the sun sets over the ruins, the city seems to glow, its stones catching the last rays of light before darkness settles in. The symmetry remains, unchanged for nearly 2,000 years, but the voices that once filled its streets are gone. Timgad stands as both a triumph and a warning, a relic of human ambition meeting the vast indifference of time. Was this city truly a beacon of civilization brought to the edge of empire? Or something older, more mysterious, reborn under Roman rule and lost again? Did its architects understand the forces they aligned their city with, or merely follow patterns whose meaning has long since been forgotten? The wind moves softly through the colonnades, stirring fine dust across the stones, as if erasing the last traces of certainty. In that silence, one can almost hear the faint echo of footsteps, the heartbeat of a city that refuses to fully die.